What's going on, guys, and welcome to the amazing new SwiftUI Airbnb course, where we are going to be building one of the world's most popular travel and accommodation apps completely from scratch with SwiftUI. In this comprehensive course, you guys are going to learn how to build stunning user interfaces and implement smooth and seamless animations just like the real-world Airbnb app to create an overall amazing user experience that's going to allow you to create and interact with listings. And we are going to guide you through this entire process step by step. And that includes conceptualization, design, code architecture, implementation, functionality, and all of that amazing stuff. So you guys are going to gain a deep understanding of SwiftUI and SwiftUI app architecture here. This amazing modern framework that allows us to build beautiful and intuitive user interfaces with ease. I'll be your instructor. My name's Stefan, as I'm sure you guys know, and I'm a former senior engineer at Meta. I have almost 10 years of experience as a professional iOS developer, and I'm going to be walking you through how to build this app step by step. And this course isn't just about learning, guys. It's about turning your vision into a reality. And by the end of this course, you're going to have a fully functional SwiftUI Airbnb clone that you can showcase in your portfolio or even launch on the App Store. So I hope you guys are ready to unlock your potential as an iOS developer and embark on this incredible journey of building this amazing Airbnb app. So let's go ahead and get started. So to get things started, guys, let's go ahead and create a new Xcode project. It's going to be iOS for the platform, and we're going to select app, and then we are just going to call this Airbnb tutorial. And obviously SwiftUI, Swift, and we don't need tests or any sort of storage. So let's go ahead and hit next and hit create. And let's get our preview up and running, and then we are going to get our project directory set up. So that looks good, guys. Let's go ahead and go up to our main folder here and create some groups to set up our directory. So you can right click and hit new group, or you can hit Command Option N. And we are just going to go ahead and create, let's start with 4 groups right here, guys. The first one is going to be for our app file, and we're just going to drag this guy and put it up here. And the next one is going to be for our core. That's going to contain all of our screens and stuff. And then we are going to make one for extensions, and another one for our models. And then let's go ahead and make one more called utils. And we are going to drag that all the way down at the bottom. You guys notice this is in alphabetical order. It is good to keep your folder structure in alphabetical order. Always makes things easier to find. And to sort of wrap this video up, guys, I just want us to go ahead and start filling out what's going to go inside of our core folder. So this is going to be all of the features that we're going to be building. For example, this is our Explore screen. Then we have like a wish list screen, a profile screen, a map view. We're going to just go ahead and create the folder structure for that before we get started. So inside of your core folder, let's go ahead and create some more groups. We are going to create one for Explore. And then we're going to create one for listings, create one for our map view, and our profile as well. And then another one for the root view of our application, our tab bar, and our wish lists. So I'm just going to go ahead and organize this into alphabetical order really quickly, guys. And then we should be good to go with getting started with building out our first screen here, which is going to be our Explore screen. So let's see, profile. We know that R goes there and that goes there. Perfect. So that is in beautiful alphabetical order. We are ready to go ahead and get started with our Explore view and our listing stuff, guys. This is going to be super fun to build out, and that's what we're going to be getting started with in the next module. So get excited for that. We'll see you there. Peace. What's going on, guys? In this video, we are going to be getting started with building our Explore view, which is like sort of the home screen for Airbnb. So it just contains this scrollable list of listings that we can see. We can swipe through these images like this, And we're going to get started by building out the skeleton of this view where we're just going to have like a scrollable list of items. So let's go ahead and go into our Explore folder and let's go ahead and make a new file. It's going to be a SwiftUI view and we're going to call this Explore view. And we are going to want this to be inside of a navigation stack to start with, guys. So the reason for that is if we click on an item, we want the ability to navigate to another screen. So let's just go ahead and start this off by saying we're going to be inside of a navigation stack. And then we want this scrollable list, right? So next up, I am going to add a scroll view. And we're going to have this like sort of vertically stacked list of items, right? And we're going to want that to be lazy. So we're going to create a lazy VStack. The reason we want it to be lazy, guys, is because we only want to render the items on screen as they appear. We don't want to render everything all at once. You know, sometimes you could have a list of 1,000 listings in an area. You only want to render what we see on screen and activate that sort of lazy loading functionality, which we get from this lazy VStack. All right, so next up, let's see if we can just add some rectangles here. So to see this sort of come to life, let's say for each and maybe go 0 up to, I don't know, 10 ID \self. And we can say listing in because ultimately we will be looping through some listings later on. So we can just keep that for naming purposes there. And let's just go ahead and create a rectangle, guys. And let's give it like a frame of a height of like, I don't know, 300 pixels, maybe 400. That looks pretty good. And let's go ahead and give this guy some padding. Right, and then you could dress it up a little bit more and say .corner radius. And you guys will notice that in iOS 17, this is actually getting deprecated. I believe they want you to use clip shape from now on. So you say clip shape, rounded rectangle, and then we can add a corner radius. So that looks pretty good to me. Let's just adjust our spacing a little bit. So we can go here and say spacing and maybe do like, I don't know, 16 pixels. Maybe let's try 32. Right, so those have like a good bit of space in between them. I think 32 is okay. So this is like the skeleton of our Explore view right here, guys. Like that was really easy to put together. Now what I want us to do is actually start building out these items that we see here to actually have some sort of listing populated in each item. So to do that, we're going to hop into our listings folder and I'm going to create a SwiftUI view here. And we're going to call this listing view. And this is going to be sort of this item view that we see here for each listing. And we're going to drop those into our Explore view once we're done building this out. Let's actually modify the name of this, guys. Let's call it listing item view. I think that makes a little bit more sense. So change that in your preview right there. And let's change the name of our file as well to listing item view and our comments up here as well. Just a quick little rename. So let's go ahead and get started with how we want this to look, guys. So we're going to notice that we want this big image view here, and then we're going to add the functionality to swipe between all of these images, but that'll come a little bit later. Let's just go ahead and get the skeleton of this item view down first. So we are going to just create a VStack, and we're going to say spacing is 8 pixels. And the reason for that being is we have these vertically stacked list of things, right? This image view and this like listing info that we see here with like this rating view as well. So we have a VStack. So we're going to make some comments here. We're going to have our images and then listing details below that. Okay. So for now, guys, we'll just make this a rectangle and we're going to say .frame height is 320. And we're going to give it a clip shape of that rounded rectangle with a corner radius of 10. So that looks pretty good so far. Let's go ahead and give our VStack some padding. And that's looking pretty good. So simple enough. Next up, let's move on to our details. So this is going to be a VStack paired with an H-stack, guys. So this is all going to be one horizontal stack, but all of this stuff is going to be inside of a VStack. So the overall thing is an H-stack. And then inside that, we're going to have details and rating. But we are going to put this details guy inside of its own VStack. And then the rating here will just be across the screen with that view right there. So let's go ahead and just build out these details. So I'm actually going to make the alignment leading on this. And then we're going to say text, let's say Miami, Florida. And then below that, we'll say text 12 miles away. Text November 3rd through the 10th. And then let's go ahead and make this guy right here the price view, right? So this is actually going to be text, and let's go ahead and add our text here, 567. And then we want to say per night, right? But guys, we notice that the 567 in the completed app, let me get this bigger for you. Like that's bolded, right? So there's a couple of options we have to accomplish that effect. I think we could just go ahead and put this in an H stack. So we could say H stack and put two text components here. And let's make the spacing on it, oops, like 2, maybe 4. Yep, so that looks pretty good to me. There is another way of accomplishing that. I just prefer to do it this way. And then we can customize this component right here. We could say dot font weight is dot semi-bold, right? Perfect. So next up, guys, let's just go ahead and see if we can adjust the font of this. So I believe we're going to want that to be a footnote font. So I can say dot font is dot footnote. Perfect. And then let's actually go ahead and bold Miami, Florida as well. So that looks really good. And then, guys, we are going to want to make these two grayed out. So we can go ahead and say dot foreground color, or sorry, dot style is gray. And foreground style is gray there as well. So that looks pretty good to me. Next up, let's go ahead and just fold up this VStack to sort of keep things neat. So you can right click on the opening bracket, guys, and just hit fold. And I really love that feature. It makes our code a lot easier to read. And then let's do the rating. So we actually need to add a spacer in between those two things. And that is going to move everything over to the left. And then we can add our star view or rating view. So I'm going to create another H stack. Spacing is going to be 2. We're going to say image system name star.fill. That looks good. And then we are going to say text 4.86. Okay, awesome. All right, guys, so I believe we are going to want to adjust the alignment of our H stack here. So we can see here that this is aligned to the center, right? So like if you were to put a background on this H stack, you can sort of see the frame of it, right? And everything is aligned to the center. But we want this moved up to the top, and that's a really easy fix. We can just add an alignment property to the H stack of top, and it's going to shove it up to the top there, which is really, really nice. So let's remove that background. And that looks really good, right? So next up, guys, I think we just need to go ahead and drop this into our, what's it called? Our Explore view, right? So let's go ahead and see how that looks. And then we can come back and add the finishing touches to this, like with our images and stuff like that. It's actually really easy to accomplish this feature right here. SwiftUI makes it really easy on us, so that's not going to be too bad. We're going to wrap that up in the end of this video. So instead of having these rectangles, let's just go ahead and drop in our listing item view. Okay, so not bad, right? We do notice, however, that we have this padding here and we have padding inside of our listing item view. So it's really up to you guys which one you want to remove. Like I could remove that one and everything looks fine. Or I could have removed it here and kept it in my Explore view. and it accomplishes the same thing. Some people will argue that it's better to add padding in the parent view, or some people argue that it's better to do it inside of the child view. This child view meaning that it's like, we have a list of these things inside of this Explorer view. So you could call this Explorer view the parent view and the listing item view the child view. It's really up to you. There's arguments for both sides. I don't think it really matters too much. So let's go ahead and see if we can figure out how to accomplish this beautiful, sort of tabbed image view here, where we can slide back and forth between images and have this beautiful indicator down at the bottom. Let's go ahead and see if we can do that. So let's go back to our listing item view. And what we're going to do is replace this rectangle with a tab view, guys. So I'm going to go here and say tab view. And let's highlight this stuff and just hit Control I to indent it. And then we are just going to say for each, and let's just say like 0 up to 3 for now, ID \self. And we could say image in, because this is ultimately going to be an image. Then let's go ahead and just add this rectangle back and see what happens. Rectangle, cool. And guys, what we can do is on this tab view, go ahead and go down here and say .tab view style .page. And you guys will notice that it automatically adds this sort of paging indicator for us and gives us the ability to swipe back and forth. We can't tell that swiping is happening right now because we just have a bunch of black rectangles. So let's actually see if we can drop some images in here now. So I'm actually going to create an array up here, guys, and this is just going to be for mock data to start with. We're going to actually add like real data as the course goes on. So let's go ahead and say var images equals, and then let's open up some brackets. I'm going to say listing -1 and add a comma. And just paste that in a couple times. 2, 3, 4. And I'm going to go down here and say for each images, and I'm going to create an image here and say .resizable .scale to fill. So that looks beautiful, guys. And if you're wondering where these images are coming from, I have them in my assets folder, as we can see here. Now you guys can either just go to Google and download some images yourself, or if you want access to the completed source code, guys, head over to my website at stephancodes.com. And if you become a member for less than a coffee a day, you can get access to not just this source code, but all of the other app templates I have on my website. So that includes Airbnb, Instagram, Threads, Messenger, Twitter, Uber, all of that stuff for less than a coffee a day. So I also have the pro course that you guys can check out that's going to contain a lot more additional features than this free version that you're watching here on YouTube. So guys, once again, just go ahead, head over to my website and invest in becoming a member if you are serious about improving yourself as an iOS engineer, trying to go pro, or trying to build your own app to launch to the App Store. It's highly worth it. We have thousands of satisfied customers that we've helped go pro and release their own apps to the App Store. So make sure you guys check that out if you're serious about upping your skill level as an iOS dev. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get back to the code. We can see here that we can swipe through these images beautifully, and that just looks absolutely incredible. So that's actually going to wrap it up for this video, guys. If we go to our Explore view, it's looking pretty good so far. What we're going to do in the next one is get started with building out this sort of custom search bar. So when we tap on that, guys, you'll be taken to this sort of destination search view where you can type out where you want to go, when you want to go there, and who you're coming with or going with, right? And it has all of these really awesome animations, and that is what we are going to be going over how to implement next. So we'll see you guys there. Get excited. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Hope you're doing well. In this video, we are going to be building out this custom search and filter bar that we see here. In another one, we are going to be adding the functionality to click on it and then display this sort of destination search view with all this fancy functionality here. But first, we're going to start with building this guy out. So let's go ahead and we are actually going to create a subclass for this, or a separate view component. So let's go ahead and hit Command N on our Explore page, and we're going to create a SwiftUI view, and it's going to be called Search and Filter Bar. And let's go ahead and just jump right into it, guys. So basically, we're going to want an H stack, and then we're going to give it a border, and we're going to give it a nice shadow there as well. So let's go ahead and just start this off with an H stack. Building this out should be pretty quick. We're going to say image, and we're going to use a system image of a magnifying glass. And you guys will see here that shows up, and this system image is obviously coming from the SF Symbols app. We don't need to have this in our assets folder. So that looks good. And then we are going to create a VStack for this location info here. So where the user is, or if they have a search filter applied, and then this label down here for the week and guests number. So we're going to say that we want the alignment to be leading on this, and spacing is going to be 2. And we're going to create a text component and say where to. We'll handle all the custom location searching later. Dot font is dot footnote. Dot font weight is dot semi-bold. And then we are going to say text anywhere, any week, add guests. Dot font is going to be dot caption 2. Dot foreground color is dot gray, guys. So that's already looking pretty nice there. And now we're going to move on to creating this filter button that we see here. So outside of that VStack, but still within the H stack, we are going to add a spacer. That's going to move that over nicely. And we're going to create a button here with an action and a label. I hate it when it does that option. Let's see. We want it to have those two closures. Action, label. I guess it's fine. We're not really going to have an action for this just yet, so we can leave it like that. Then we are going to create an image with a system name of line.3.horizontal.decrease.circle. So that's a nice system image that we get there as well, guys. And we're just going to give that a foreground color, or foreground style. Foreground color was deprecated, or will be deprecated soon. So if you're using iOS 17 and Xcode 15, guys, just go ahead and start using foreground style. And we're just going to make that black. Okay, so now we're going to apply some padding and this nice capsule overlay with that shadow as well, guys. So on our H stack, we are going to say dot padding is dot horizontal. And then we're going to give it a vertical padding of 10 pixels. And we'll see where that comes in a little bit. Then we're going to say dot overlay. And you guys can open up curly brackets after that overlay. And we're just going to create a capsule here. Dot stroke is going to be with line width of 0.5. So guys, this vertical padding, you can see where this comes into play now. If I were to comment that out, you'll notice that my clip shape or my overlay really hugs everything very tightly. If you give it this vertical padding, it gives it that beautiful spacing there. So that just shows you what that is for. And now, guys, we just need to apply a foreground color to this. So a foreground style, rather. We're going to say dot system gray 4. And that'll give it that sort of really nice grayed out color there. And then the last step of this is to apply a shadow. So we are going to say color radius, and it's going to be dot black. And the radius is going to be 2. But you guys will notice that's really harsh. That doesn't really look good. So what we can do is just give the black an opacity of maybe 0.4. And guys, that looks beautiful right there. And then after everything, we can say padding, and it's going to give us some padding on the edges there really nicely. So that's a beautiful component there, guys. And we can see just how easy that was to create with the power of SwiftUI. So let's now go back into our Explore view and drop this guy in there. So we can see here that we want it to be part of our scrollable list. Like, we don't want a sticky scroll bar. So inside of my scroll view, in this lazy V stack, I could place it there, or I could just place it inside the scroll view. It doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and just say search and filter bar. And you guys notice that drops in there beautifully, and it's looking really good. If you guys wanted it to be sticky, meaning like it would stay there all the time, you would just place that outside of the scroll view. But I believe you would have to wrap this in a V stack to accomplish that. So we could say V stack and then place it there. And that would actually make that sticky for you if that's the functionality you guys wanted. But I believe Airbnb doesn't do that. So I'm just going to back those changes out, guys. And that's looking really good. And that's actually going to wrap it up for this video, boys and girls. In the next one, we are going to get started with this beautiful listing detail view that contains all of the details about our listing. And we can still swipe through all our photos here, reserve a booking, and all that stuff. So that's what we're going to be doing next, guys. Get excited for that. We will see you there. Peace. What's going on, guys? In this module, we are going to be going over how to, first off, navigate to a new screen from our Explore view and go to this sort of listing detail view. And then we're going to get started with actually building out everything inside of this listing detail view. It's quite a bit, so we might break it up into 2 videos, but we're going to try to fit it all in one. So basically, we're going to be reusing that sort of tab view that we have, where we can swipe through all the images for the listing. And then we're just going to have some information about it. We're going to have some information about the host for the listing, some of the listing features, info about the bedrooms, and this will be like a cool scrollable list based on the amount of bedrooms it has. And then the listing amenities like Wi-Fi, alarm, blah, blah, blah. And then we'll also have this map view. And then we'll sort of have this floating like reserve booking view down at the bottom. You guys notice that that's like sticky or floating, whatever you want to call it. And it just has the price, the dates, and the button to reserve that listing there. So let's go ahead and get started with the navigation. So basically, guys, what we're going to do is we're already inside of a navigation stack. So we're already set up to navigate from one screen to the next. We just need to set up a navigation link and a navigation destination. So we are going to make this listing item view a navigation link. So let's go ahead and just cut this really quickly with Command X. And we're going to create a navigation link, and it's going to be a value option and a label. So the value is going to be our listing here. And go ahead and tab over to label and hit enter to open up the closure. And we're going to paste that in. So you guys will notice a couple things change. We have this text that changed color. It defaults to the accent color of the app, which is blue. Sort of annoying, but it's an easy fix. And then you guys notice that we can now click on this entire thing. It doesn't go anywhere yet because we haven't set up a destination. So let's do that first, and then we'll fix our font colors and stuff. So guys, right now, this listing is actually just representing a number because we're just looping through 0 to 10 here. Eventually, we're going to add some data modeling in here and actually create like a listing object. But for now, each one of these is just represented by an integer, right? So we are going to set up a navigation destination on our scroll view. And it's going to be for int.self. So that's the type of thing that we're clicking on. And once again, that's just because this listing just represents a number right now. And we're going to just go ahead here and say listing. And we're just going to say text listing detail view ... And you guys will notice that if we click on this thing, it should navigate over to that view that we created right here. Yep, so that is looking good. Let's go ahead and just modify our text color on our listing item view, guys, before we move forward. So let's just say jump to definition with a right click. And let's see, let's make this Miami, Florida guy.foreground color.black. And this guy as well, foreground style, my bad. Okay, and go back to our Explore view, and that should be looking good. Oh, we got to do that guy there as well. Just paste that in on our rating as well. Actually, we have to do that on the whole H stack, my bad. So let's do that right there. And back to our Explore view. And that looks really good. And we can see that everything is still working as expected. So guys, let's go ahead now and get started with creating this listing detail view. So let's go to our listings folder and hit Command N, create a SwiftUI view and call this listing detail view. Okay. So the first thing we notice, guys, is that we are inside of a scrollable vertical list. So let's go ahead and set that up to get started. So we're going to say we want to be inside of a scroll view, and that's going to automatically give us a vertically scrolling view, which is nice. Next up, we want to get this tabbed list of images here. So let's go ahead and just grab that from our listing item view right here. And we can just paste that right here. And we will create like a reusable list of, a reusable component for this, guys, because we're using it in a couple different places. But for now, we can just copy and paste. And then we also need our images. Actually, let's just go ahead and do that now. Save us some time down the road. So I'll show you guys how to do a quick refactor of this. So you guys notice that this looks good, right? But what we want to do is extract this into a reusable component. So let's go ahead and collapse these folders really quickly. Inside of our core folder, let's go ahead and make a components folder. So I always use a components folder for like a set of reusable views that we can use across the app. So let's go ahead and make a new view, SwiftUI view, and we can call this, let's see, listing image carousel view. So oftentimes these are referred to carousels, guys, because you can just swipe through them. And let's go ahead and go back to our Explore page, or listings rather. Let's grab these images, put them right here, and go back to listing item view and grab this guy and paste that in here. And that looks really good, right? So a couple things that we want to modify here, guys. So let's see. We don't always want this clip shape. And you can see here in the listing detail view that we don't want a clip shape there, right? This is just sort of squared off. So we can leave this to the implementation of this component. And then we also might want to leave the height to the implementation component as well. So here's what I mean by that. These two things are going to vary across the implementation of our, this component here. So meaning it has one height here, and then it might have another height here, a different corner radius here, so on and so forth, right? And then in the completed app, we're going to reuse this when we have this guy here as well. And we can see here that this has a different height in and of itself. So we don't want to hard code the height inside of this reusable component. We want to leave that up to the view that is implementing this component. So here's what that's going to look like. We can cut and paste these things, right? So it's going to be big and ugly now, which is okay. Let's go back to our listing item view and replace this guy with that. So let's say listing image carousel view and put those two guys right there. And just go ahead and delete that. And you guys will notice it looks exactly the same, right? And that's because we left our implementation of the height and the clip shape up to the thing that is implementing it, which in this case is our listing item view. And now, guys, if we go to our listing detail view, we can add the same component, listing image carousel view. You guys notice it's all scrunched up and ugly there. But what we can do is give it a frame height of, we could probably just do 320 again. Yeah, it looks good. But we are not going to give it a clip shape, guys. So although the height was the same between these two things, it's obviously different here. So we are going to want to leave the height up to the thing that implements it. So that's a nice little tip and trick there. You guys could also make the height like an input parameter, and maybe give it a default value of 320. That's another way of doing it. But this is better in my opinion. So let's just keep going now. So let me exit out of this, go back to our guy. All right, so let's get started with the listing info now, guys. So listing item view, or listing detail view, sorry. Right. So next up, we are going to create a VStack. Alignment is going to be .leading, and spacing is going to be 8. And here we're going to say text Miami Villa. .font is going to be .title. .font weight is .semi-bold. Perfect. And then this is going to be its own separate VStack contained within this guy. So we're going to make another VStack. Alignment is .leading. I hate the autocomplete for this content guy now. So it should look like that. All right, guys, and then we are going to make this rating view. Oops, need a closing parenthesis. So that's going to be an H-stack, spacing of 2. And it's going to be the exact same thing that we built before. So I could literally just go back to my listing item view and grab that. Once again, it might help to make a reusable component for this, but I'm going to leave that up to you guys. I'm not going to dive too deep into making this as clean as and efficient as possible. Some of that can be left up to you guys for homework, because I don't want to spend too much time in the weeds with that stuff. We do want to just get the app built out, right? So that's another reusable component you guys could work with on your own time, creating like a rating view that you can reuse the same way we created this awesome reusable component for our listing image carousel view. Anyway, now let's see. We want the number of reviews as well. So I'm going to say text 28 reviews, then we can underline it and give it a font weight of .semi-bold. And let's see. That looks okay. Actually, guys, we want another text component with some spacing, just like that. Cool. All right, and then we are going to give this whole H-stack a font of caption. So that looks pretty good, right? All right, and then we need one more thing for the location. So inside of our VStack, we're going to say text Miami, Florida. And actually, guys, we want that to be a caption font as well. So let's go ahead and just move that from the H-stack to the overall VStack, and it's going to give all that stuff a caption font, which looks great. Okay, and next up, guys, we are going to need to shove this over to the left of the screen. So one way to do that would be to put this in an H-stack and add a spacer, but there's an easier way that I like to do, and that is going to be to give this a frame. So let's see, this VStack here, right. So it's going to be .frame, max width is .infinity, and alignment is .leading. So that's going to shove it all the way over to the left, and then we just want to give it some leading padding, right? So we're going to say .padding, .leading. And let's just go ahead and fold this whole VStack up here. So go ahead and hit fold, and that just makes everything look a lot neater. So that's great. So now, guys, let's go ahead and on our scroll view, or inside of our scroll view, but after this VStack here, let's go ahead and add a divider. That looks good. And let's see, below that, we are going to create this sort of like user info view, right? Or the host info view rather. So let's add a comment for that, maybe like host info view. And let's go ahead and start building this guy out. So this is going to be an H stack. And we are going to have some information about the villa or the property, some more information in the subtitle, and then the user or the owner's profile image right there. So let's just go ahead and make a V stack. And this is going to be text. We can say entire villa hosted by John Smith. And that's going to be .font of .headline frame. Width is going to be 250, and I'll explain why we do that in a second. And the alignment is going to be leading, guys. So the reason I make this have like sort of a frame is because you don't want the text to bleed like too far over into like the profile image and stuff. I'm pretty sure this is like how Airbnb does it. So it just cuts off right there basically and then just goes on to a new line. So that's one option. You could also use padding and stuff, but this is one option to accomplish that. In SwiftUI, there's oftentimes multiple ways of doing things, and oftentimes one isn't necessarily better than the other. It's just personal style or preference. So next up, guys, we're going to add this H stack, and this is going to be for our sort of property info. So we're going to say text for guests, and then add a space and a dash. And let's just copy and paste this a couple more times, and we'll do this for the bedrooms. For beds, 3 baths or something like that, right? Or 3 baths. And we delete the dash from the last one. Let's add like a spacing of 2 pixels and give this guy a font of .caption. So that looks good. Yeah. And guys, for this VStack, let's go ahead and give it an alignment of .leading to just align that to our leading edge there. And I believe that means we could probably remove that from our frame. Nope, we cannot. Okay, interesting. So anyway, let's keep going and let's add a spacer here. And that's going to shove it all the way over there. And then we are going to create this sort of circular profile image view right here. So we're going to create an image. And I believe I have one in the assets folder for this, mail profile dash photo. Yep. And then it's going to be .resizable, .frame width and height of 64 by 64. And let's actually make this scale to fill. Right, and then we're going to give it a clip shape of a circle. Yep, that looks great. And this looks a little janky. So let's see if we can fix that. Let's see. Let me see what happens if we comment out this width line. Maybe it's not the best thing to do. Okay, so that doesn't look bad, right? But then it's like, how do we get it to go on the new line? And the reason I'm doing this, guys, is because Airbnb does it. So let's see. On this entire VStack, maybe, let's go ahead and say .frame width is 300. Okay, that looks good. Yeah, and then let's comment this back in. And yep, okay, so that gives us the look we want. So we're just applying individual frames to things, which isn't the worst thing in the world, right? And these are small enough with the pixel values to where it should adopt to smaller phone screen sizes. So we should be okay here. Some people will argue against hard coding like frames, but in some situations it's okay. And it is used in the biggest and best apps in the world. Like things were done like this at Facebook when I worked there as well. So it's not the worst thing to do. So anyway, guys, let's keep going. And let's see, we have some padding here, it looks like. Where is that coming from? We want padding here as well. So let's go on our H stack and say .padding. Yep, that looks good, but this is too far over to the right. So let's see if we can fix that. And all we got to do, guys, is go to the frame on our VStack and say alignment here is .leading as well. And then on this VStack, guys, right here, let's go ahead and give this a spacing of 4 pixels. just to space it out just a tiny bit, and that looks great. All right, so that's our host info view. Let's go ahead and fold this guy up and keep going. Should be able to knock this all out in one video. So we're going to add another divider. Perfect. And then guys, we are going to create this sort of like listing feature view. So like this is a superhost, it has self check-in, and we're going to create this guy here now. So let's see, listing features, and let's go ahead and make a VStack for this. And let's say like, this is just going to be dummy data for now, guys. We are going to create a data model for this. So let's just go ahead and say 0 up to, but not including 2. And we'll say like feature in, because we're going to eventually make this like a listing feature. Let's just go ahead and make an HStack with spacing of 12, image system name. And I think we could do like, I think that one's like a metal. Yep, cool. And then we're going to say another VStack with an alignment of leading. And it's going to be text, we could say superhost dot font of dot footnote dot font weight dot semi bold. Perfect. And then we are going to say text and type out this big long guy right here. Superhosts are experienced, highly rated hosts who are committed to providing great stars for guests. Okay, and we just need to mess with the font here. So this is going to be dot font of dot caption dot foreground style of dot gray. So that looks great, right? And then guys, all we need to do from here is give it some padding, right? And maybe some spacing as well. So yes, our VStack is going to have an alignment of dot leading and a spacing of 16. So that looks a lot better there. And let's see. Then on this overall VStack, we are going to say dot padding. Sweet. So that looks great. Yeah. Yeah, I think that looks good. This looks like it's a little bit further out than I want it to be than the completed app, but we could always come back and work with that later. So let's actually give this a frame as well. Max width dot infinity alignment is dot leading, and I think that'll solve the problem. Yeah, so that looks great. So instead of placing this in like an HStack, guys, or you know what we could have done was on the HStack you could add a spacer as well. So I think that would do the same thing. Yes, so that does the same thing. So because this is already inside of an HStack, if you guys just apply a spacer to it, you don't have to use that frame max width infinity alignment leading option. So once again, same but different, just different ways of accomplishing the same thing, guys. Potato. All right, so let's go and fold this guy up now. We are almost done. And next up, we're going to have this where you're asleep, what this place offers in the map. So we're actually only halfway done. And then we still have to do this, guys. So I think I'm going to end this video here, guys. It's gotten a little long, and I don't want to spend another 20-25 minutes building out the rest of it. So we're going to hop into the next video to finish this up and add the finishing touches and all of the other features for this listing detail view. So get excited for that, guys. We'll see you there. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. So in this one, we're going to continue on with this listing detail view. So we left off at the listing features list. Then we're going to go to this like where you'll sleep guy and finish out the rest of it with the map view and this reserve view and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's just go ahead and in our listing detail view, add a divider here. And that's going to give us our divider for this guy, creating like clear sections for this view here. And we're going to get started with this where you'll sleep dude. So let's go and make a VStack for this. And let's see, we are going to create a text component. It says where you'll sleep. Font is headline. And that looks good. And let's actually go ahead and make our VStack alignment leading. It won't change anything because the frame is still just this right now. But once we start adding this guy, it will get it over to the left for us. So guys, let's go ahead and now start creating the scroll view. So this is going to be a scroll view. The axis is going to be horizontal. So we're going to go here and say .horizontal, and we're going to open this up for our content guy. And we're actually going to add this shows indicators as false as well. Okay, and let's just go ahead and give this VStack some padding because it's looking really smushed, so that looks great. And let's go ahead and create each one of these sort of like bedroom views, guys. So this is going to be an H-stack with a spacing of 16 pixels. And we're going to say for each, and we're actually going to start at 1. And let's go up to 4. Let's actually say 1 up to, but not including 5. And we'll say, let's see, bedroom in. Okay, so those errors should go away. And then this is what that's going to look like. We're going to create a VStack for this because we have this like vertically stacked list of things. And then we're going to give it a border and round the edges. So we're going to say VStack. And we are going to say image system name. bed.double, and we get that for free from Xcode, which is so nice, or the SF Symbols app. And then we are going to then create a text component that says bedroom, and then inject that bedroom guy, which is just an index in this case. So it's like bedroom 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you guys can see that we have this horizontally scrollable list. So this is already looking really good. We just need to, space things out a little bit and get the right frames and the right borders and stuff like that. So guys, let's do that. We are going to say, let's see, on each one of these, we're going to give it a frame. Width is going to be 132. Height is going to be 100. So let's see how that's looking. So already looking a lot better. And then we are going to give it an overlay. And it's going to be a rounded rectangle with a corner radius of 12. So looks good. And then we are just going to give it a stroke. Line width is 1. Foreground style is gray. So that looks pretty smooth right there. Right? We get all of our bedrooms in there now. And let's see, we just want a little bit of spacing between these two things, guys. So we can just go here and say spacing is 16 pixels. And that looks great. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, good padding, scrolling nicely. And I want to show you guys an awesome new feature from iOS 17. So, and the new SwiftUI update. So you guys will notice here that my scrolling is sort of paged, right? So like if I scroll but not scroll enough, it'll snap back to that original scroll position. And like by extension, if I scroll enough, it'll snap over to the next sort of section of the scroll view. And we can accomplish that with one simple modifier. So on our scroll view here, guys, we could say .scroll target behavior. And you can say .paging now. So now you have the ability to page your scrolling, which is so cool. And you guys can see here that it just has that nice like sort of locking effect. So you guys can add that in there if you want. If not, you can leave the sort of free form scrolling in there as well. But guys, let's go ahead and fold this guy up now. Lots of folding, love folding. And we're going to say bedrooms view. Okay. And let's go ahead and add another divider and get this sort of what this place offers guy, right? So guys, this is going to be a VStack. So let's see, we're looking good here. Almost done. So a VStack, and we're going to have a spacing of 16 pixels. And we're going to say text what this, let's see, what this place offers, yeah. Dot font is dot headline. Cool. And then we're going to create another for loop here. And let's just say like 0 up to, but not including, I don't know, 5. And we'll say, let's see, feature in. This is just another sort of type of like listing feature. And this is a pretty simple HStack view, right? It's just an image and a title. So we can just say HStack. Let's see, spacing. We don't need spacing just yet. Let me get that scrolled so you guys can see. And we're going to create an image with a system name of, let's just do like Wi-Fi. Let's see. Okay, sweet, showing up nicely. And we are going to give this a frame of 32, guys, and we'll see why in a second. So we don't need to give it a height. And then we're just going to give it a title as well. And we can just say Wi-Fi for now. Dot font is dot footnote. And let's just go ahead and apply a spacer here to get it moved all the way over to the left. And then on our VStack, we are once again just going to apply some padding. And that looks really good. So we want this to be aligned to the leading edge, guys. So let's just go up to our VStack here and say alignment.leading. And that's going to align it to that leading edge there. And that was really easy. That's looking good. And we are going to fold this up. Fold, add a comment, listing amenities. I think that's how you spell it, amenities. And let's see, next up, we are going to have another divider and then this awesome map view. And then we're just going to build out this, what's it called? Reserve view here as well. So let's see, divider. And then we're going to have another VStack. Alignment is going to be leading, spacing is 16. Pretty uniform throughout. You guys can see here that all these VStacks pretty much have the same thing, right? Leading alignment, spacing of 16 pixels. And that's by design. You want to keep things very uniform. You can see that all of our spacing here is the exact same in all of our components. And this looks really, really clean and really, really neat. And it's a nice user interface, right? Those little things go a long way with building a quality app, guys. All right, so let's knock this guy out. Where you'll be. So we're going to say text where you'll be. Dot font is dot headline. And then we are going to create a map. And let's just go ahead and do this. We're going to say map. It's just going to be blank for now. Ooh, let's see. Do we need to import map kit? I think we do. Let me see. Yes, we need to go up to the top and import our map kit. So let's see if we can just create a blank map, guys, for now. Yep, that's good, actually. I think we could just do blank parentheses. Eventually, guys, we're going to add like the correct region for the listing. I just want to go ahead and get something showing up here. So we just need to give it a frame and a corner radius and all that stuff. So let's see. Our frame is going to be height of 200 pixels dot corner radius. I keep forgetting they're deprecating that, so we have to use clip shape rounded rectangle with a corner radius of 12. And let's see. Okay, yeah, so that looks good. Right? Obviously, it's not zoomed in on any sort of region, but we will come back to that later. And let's just go ahead and apply our padding here, guys. Sweet. That looks great. At least, guys, we are going to add this reserve view down here with some info about the listing. And it's going to be this sort of sticky view down at the bottom. So in order to accomplish that, we are going to make this an overlay on this whole view. You guys could make this a Z stack with a bottom alignment, or you could just add it as an overlay, same, but different. So let's say overlay, and we're going to make the alignment dot bottom, guys, and then open up some brackets for our content. And overall, this is going to be a V stack, and we're going to add a divider to the very top of it. So you can already see it kind of showing up there, right? You can see it at the bottom here. So let's just keep going. We're going to say dot padding of dot bottom on this divider to give it some more room. You guys can see that gave us a little bit more room there, which is nice. And then we're going to create this H stack, and on the right side of it's going to be this reserve button. On the left side of it's going to be all this info here. So the info view is going to be a V stack. Then we're going to have a spacer, and then we're going to have this reserve button. So let's just go ahead and make the reserve button first. Action and label. No action just yet. We're going to say text reserve dot foreground color, or dot white, sorry, is dot foreground style is white. Dot font is dot subheadline. Dot font weight is dot semi bold. Dot frame is width and height of 140 by 40. Dot background is dot pink. Dot corner radius is 8. So sorry guys, we need to do the clip shape. Rounded rectangle, corner radius 8. All right, so not looking too bad. And then guys, on this H stack here, let's go ahead and give it some horizontal padding of 32 pixels. Okay, so we can see here that that's like showing up and it's sticky, right? Which is great. The only thing we need to do to like get it to be a little bit more visible, because right now it looks kind of see-through, right, is to give this whole V stack a background color of white. So we're going to say dot background is dot white. Right, so that looks way better now, right? Before it was sort of transparent, guys. And we also noticed that we need to make it so that we can see our whole map view, right? So right now we have to like stretch the scroll view out quite a bit to see the whole thing. So we just need to add some bottom padding on our scroll view. So right here on your scroll view, guys, just go ahead and say dot padding of dot bottom. And I think it's going to be 72 pixels. So if we scroll all the way to the bottom now, yep, that looks pretty good. Let's see if we make it 64, how that looks. Yep, I think 64 is okay. Yep, so that looks really good. So let's just go ahead and fill out this V stack now. So it's going to be pretty straightforward. We're going to have an alignment of dot leading, and we're just going to have a text component here that says $500. Oops. Dot font is dot subheadline. Dot font weight is dot semi bold. Text is going to say total before taxes. And then we're going to say text, and we can just make these dates whatever we want, October 15th to the 20th. And that's going to be dot font of dot footnote, dot font weight, dot semi bold, dot underline. And then this total before taxes guy is going to have a footnote font as well. All right, so that looks pretty darn good, boys and girls. I think that is going to wrap it up for this guy. Actually, there's one more thing we need to do. So you guys notice here that we have this nasty sort of white space up at the top. And this is what's known as the safe area of the phone. You guys will notice here on the simulator that like that is where the time goes and the Wi-Fi indicator goes and all the battery and stuff goes. So we are just going to ignore the safe area here, guys. So we can, on our scroll view, say dot ignores safe area. And you guys will notice that just shoves it up to the top, and everything else, it falls into place beautifully. So And the last thing we need to do, guys, is place this back button up here at the top so that we can exit that view when we navigate to it or after we navigate to it. So let's just scroll up to the top here, and we're going to take this listing image carousel view, right click on it and say embed in ZStack. And that's because we're going to place something on top of it. This is one option of doing this. You guys could have given this an overlay the same way we did down here. I'm just showing you different ways of accomplishing the same thing. So for the ZStack, we want our alignment to be .top leading. And then we're just going to place a button on top of this. So in ZStacks, guys, the thing I place in there first is going to be the base view. And then everything I add after that will be placed on top of that view. So it stacks on that three-dimensional axis or that Z axis, right? So let's go ahead and add a button here with an action and a label. And our label is going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be an image with a system name of chevron.left. And it's going to have a foreground style, of .black. It's going to have a background of a circle, spelled circle wrong, .fill of .white, .frame, width and height of 32 by 32. So you guys will notice you can't really see it right now, but if you scroll down, you'll see it showing up in that very upper left-hand corner. And this is happening because we ignored the safe area on our view. So we just need to apply some padding to this image right here, and it will show up in the right spot. So guys, on your image, let's see. Go ahead and say .padding and do like 32 pixels. And you guys will notice it shows up there beautifully, and you can tap on it. It's very important to understand that you need to place the padding on the image label or the label of the button, guys. If you were to place this padding on the button itself, like right here, this thing is like not exactly clickable because the original frame of it is up in that upper left-hand corner right there. So when you place the padding on the label itself, the button will adapt its frame to that so that we don't have differences in frames and like it's not clickable the way we saw before. So make sure you add the padding on the label of the button. So that looks really good. Now, how do we dismiss the screen? It's pretty straightforward. We create our environment variable, dismiss, var dismiss, and we are just going to go here and say dismiss. And now, guys, if we go to our Explore view, we are going to replace our navigation destination with this from this text component to our listing detail view. And you guys will notice if I go over to it, I can see my listing detail view and it looks really good. However, we have this navigation bar up at the top and we don't want that there. We have our own custom dismissal, right? And we obviously don't want a navigation bar at all because we want our image to fill up the whole screen. It gives it a much better user interface or much cleaner and sleeker look. So it's really simple to do that. We just need to say .navigation bar back button hidden. Now we go, and guess what? It's no longer there, and I can just click that guy right there and it dismisses my screen beautifully. So that is going to wrap it up for that particular feature, guys. Obviously, it's just a bunch of mock data in there. We're going to add data models later on. In the next video, we are going to move on to the rest of our components with either this search bar stuff or the wish list and profile feature and all of that good stuff. So we'll see you guys there. Peace. In this video, we are going to be building out this destination search view, and we're also going to be adding the functionality to tap on our search bar here and sort of present this view as an overlay. And there's some nice fancy animations we're going to be adding. So when I click on one of the other options, this is exactly how it works with Airbnb. It's going to expand the one that I select and collapse the non-selected options. And it looks super smooth, and we're going to be going over how to implement that in this video. And I can just hit this X button and it takes me right back to my Explore view, and it works pretty seamlessly. So let's go ahead and get started. So guys, we're going to go to our Explore folder and create a new file, SwiftUI view, and it's going to be destination search view. So this is where we search for our destinations, apply some filters and all of that good stuff, right? So let's go ahead and get started. So let's keep this up. So this is going to be a VStack. And let's just go ahead and say text where to for now. And let's go over how we can actually present this with that nice animation from our Explore view. So let's go back to our Explore view. And we are going to add a state property to keep track of when we want to show or hide that view. So this is not going to be a typical like presentation or like navigation, guys. This is going to be like custom animation stuff that we're going to be adding here. And if you guys use the Airbnb app, you'll notice they have a lot of really beautiful custom animations. So we're going to be doing that instead of just like presenting a sheet or navigating to a new screen. So I'm going to add a little bit of flair to our app here. So let's add a state property. It's going to be a private var. And it's going to be called show destination search view. And it's going to equal false. And the logic here is going to be pretty simple, guys. If we want to show the destination search view, we're going to show this guy here, or basically the thing we just created. If not, we're going to show all of this stuff. So basically within our navigation stack, we're just going to say if show destination search view, and then we're going to say destination search view. So some basic logic, and then we're going to say else. And we can just cut and paste our whole scroll view with our navigation destination inside of that else block. Okay, so now as we can see that this is just showing our Explore view because this is false here. If I were to change this to true, once my preview loads, it should show that destination search view. Change it back to false, and I think you guys get the picture here. Some basic view logic. So how do we actually activate that showing or hiding of that particular view? What's our presentation logic here going to be? So we want to say on the search and filter bar, we can just say on tap gesture. And we're going to say with animation dot snappy show destination search view dot toggle. So now you guys will notice that if I tap this guy, it gives me that really nice sort of fade in and out animation and brings up my current destination search view. Obviously, all we have right now is this text property. So next up, guys, what I want us to do is add this X button here so that we can toggle back and forth between these views from within the application. So let's go back to our destination search view. And let's just go and see if we can add this sort of X button here, guys. So I'm going to make a button. And it's going to be an action and a label. And it's just going to be image, system name, xmark, dot circle. And let's see. Then we could maybe make like image scale dot large. That looks great. And then we could give it, let's see, a foreground style of dot black. So that looks good, right? And we don't really care about placement right now. Let's just get functionality down. So guys, when we want to dismiss this view, we need to have some sort of link to the property that is determining whether or not this view is shown or hidden, right? So what I mean by that is this property, this state property here is what manages the presentation of that particular view, whether it gets shown or hidden, right? So we need some sort of link between the two views to manage the dismissal of that sort of destination search view. So we need to introduce a binding property here that we are going to bind to that state property in the parent view or the original view, and that way we can toggle this binding property here and have it modify the state property in the original view and ultimately dismiss this view. So guys, here, because we added this binding variable, we need to go ahead and add it to our preview, and we can just say .constant, false, true, doesn't matter. And then we just go here and say show.toggle. So let's see. Now we are going to get one more error in our Explore view, and we just need to do this. Boom. So our destination search view now has a binding property that is bound to this show destination view, so that when we change that or modify it in our destination search view, it will change this original state property and ultimately reconfigure our view to show the correct view component, right? So let's go ahead and test this out. With our preview here, tap, boom. So that looks great, right guys? So we could probably go ahead and add an animation there as well. So I could go here and say with animation.snappy, show.toggle, go back to my Explore view and see if that looks any better. So, oops, there. Yeah, so that's that really nice like sort of fade in and out right there, guys. So that's some really nice like animation technique for you there. It's a really simple animation. It's nothing fancy here, but it does add that like really nice sort of user experience to the application here. So now that we've done that, let's go back into our destination search view and get started with building this thing out. So let me bring it up for reference here. Okay. So guys, we are going to start by making this where to view. And we're going to just build it out in the expanded state, build these out in their collapsed state, and then go over all the logic for how to change and animate everything and all that good stuff. So step by step, we're going to accomplish this. So let's actually go ahead and wrap this up in its own VStack and make the alignment.leading and fix this. I hate this autocomplete from SwiftUI now. I don't like that they add the content label. I think it should look like this. It's just cleaner. Hopefully they fix that, but just a small complaint. So let's say text where to. Oops, need a capital. Dot font is dot title 2. Dot font weight is dot semi-bold. And then we're going to make an HStack, guys. We're going to say image system name is magnifying glass. Dot image scale is dot small. And then we're going to create a text field. Search destinations. And we want our text to be some state property, right? So we're going to add that up here. State private var destination equals a blank string. Let's go ahead and drop that in. Destination. Okay. So now let's just adjust how this looks. Let's see. Why is it yelling at me? Oh, it needs to be a text field. That's my bad. Dot font is dot subheadline. So coming together slowly. All right, so let's go ahead and now apply some, spacing and borders and stuff to this HStack. So we're going to say dot frame has a height of 44 pixels, and we're going to say dot padding is dot horizontal. Then we're going to give it an overlay of a rounded rectangle. Let me scroll down for you guys to see. With a corner radius of 8. Dot stroke is going to have a line width of 1. Okay, so that's coming together. And let's see. Dot foreground style is color dot system gray 4. So that looks pretty good. All right, and then guys, on the VStack itself, we are going to add padding. All right, so that looks really good right there. Now what we need to do is get this like sort of white background and that awesome looking shadow there, right? And that'll sort of wrap this view up. And then we'll move on to, the other two things and how to collapse and expand them and all that stuff. So let's go ahead and say dot background is dot white. And then we are going to say dot corner radius, or clip shape rather, is a rounded rectangle with a corner radius of 12. We're going to give it some more padding. And then we are going to give it a shadow with a radius of 10. So that looks awesome, right? And that's going to be it for now. And guys, let's see. Maybe on this whole VStack, we can set it up to be an alignment of leading now. Actually, no, we're not going to do that, because what we're going to do a little bit later is add this clear button up here, and then it's going to be inside of an HStack. So we don't need to do that just yet. We can just sort of leave it here and we'll just deal with the fact that it's not in the place that we want it to be right now. That will come later. Okay, so now let's make these two guys right here, guys. So we're going to make two more VStacks, and I'll label them so we don't get lost in the sauce here. This is going to be date selection view, and this is going to be num guests view. Okay. So really quickly, guys, this for now is just going to be an H stack, and it's going to say text when dot foreground style is dot gray. And then we're going to add a spacer. And we are going to add another text component that says add dates. And then on this H stack, we're going to say dot font weight is dot semi bold. Dot font is dot subheadline. Right? And then on this V stack, guys, we are going to add pretty much the same modifiers as we have here. So that looks really good, right? Let's see. I think we want, yeah, we're going to maybe adjust the height, but we'll do that a little bit later. Guys, we can literally just copy and paste this, put it there, and say who, and say add guests. So quick pause. Because we have so much copy and pasted code between these two components, right? I want us to do a quick refactor and extract this into a subview. So we notice that all the modifiers are the same. The only thing that differs is the who and the when and the add guests and the add dates, right? And we're going to be doing the same thing for this guy too, right? So instead of having all that code like copy and pasted throughout our file, let's just go ahead and do a quick refactor. So guys, we can just highlight this, right click on it, and say extract subview. It's called extracted view. Not the best name, we'll figure out one for it. But let's go ahead and just add the things that we want to have differ between the components. So we want a, let's say, title, which is a string, and let's say let description, which is a string, right? So here we're going to say title, oops, and description. Perfect. Okay, so let's think of a better name for this, right? But first off, let's go ahead here and say extracted view. Title and description is going to be when, and add dates. And this guy is going to be extracted view who, and add guests, right? So we can see that this is significantly cleaner. We have much less copy and pasted code. And when we add the logic in here to expand and collapse these things, it's going to make our lives even better. So we obviously don't want to just call this extracted view. Let's call this like collapsed picker view or something like that. Okay. So this is obviously just what the view looks like when it's collapsed, right? And when we click on it, it becomes expanded and it's a different view. So that's how we'll leave it for now. Guys, next up, let's see if we can figure out how to expand and contract these things before we build out the date picking functionality and this like stepper functionality right here that we have. So we are going to need some sort of logic to determine what our selected option is, right? So what I'm going to do is up at the top of the file, guys, create an enum, and I'm going to say destination search options. And we're just going to say case location, case dates, case members, or guests. Let's do guests. So this enum is going to manage sort of our selected option, right? So basically, guys, when I click on this where option, my selected enum case is going to be location. And if I click on when, it's going to be dates. If I click on who, it's going to be guests, right? Something an average coder would do that you want to stay away from is just making a bunch of Boolean properties. So an average or a newbie would go at state private var like location selected equals false, And you would make like 3 of these properties. You would say dates selected and then guests selected, right? So the problem with this methodology, guys, is it gets really difficult to manage your state between all of these Boolean properties. So for example, when I select location, I have to change this to true, and I have to make sure the other 2 are false. So then, in terms of functionality, if I select date, I have to then go and make sure I change location selected to false and this guy to true. And if for some reason this was true, I have to make sure that gets changed to false as well. So it makes your state really difficult to manage. And you can imagine that this is not scalable. Like if I were to add more options to this, whatever it may be, like pets or something like that, right? Then I would have to add another Boolean property, and then my state gets even more difficult to manage. So using an enumeration here is a much cleaner implementation for this, and it's a lot more scalable and a lot easier to maintain. And it's going to allow us to introduce functionality that looks like this. We're going to say at state private var selected option, and we'll cast it as destination search options equals dot location, right? So now we have this enum to manage our selected option, which is a way cleaner implementation, like I said. And let's see how we're going to use that, guys. So let's go down here, and I could say dot on tap gesture selected option equals dot dates. And we could actually just shorten that. Yeah, let's leave it like that. Boom. On tap gesture selected option equals dot guess. And then I could go here on this VStack and say, let's do it at the end maybe. On tap gesture selected option equals dot location, right? So now I have much better state management, and I can use logic based on this selected option to configure the like expanded or collapse state of my views. So let's see what that's going to look like, guys. So in this VStack, let's go ahead and see if we can set this one up first. So basically what we want to do is say if selected option equals dot location and then else. So if the selected option is location, we want it to look like this, right? Else, we want it to be that collapsed picker view. And that's going to say where add destination. So now, guys, if I click this, as we'll notice, it's not pretty, but it is getting us closer to our goal, right? So when I select a different option, this changes. And when I reselect it, it goes back to that expanded state. We need to clean up the animations and the way it looks a little bit, but we are getting closer to our goal here. So guys, let's go ahead and add this sort of logic to these two guys as well. So let's go ahead and make VStacks for them. And we're going to say if selected option equals dot dates and else. So we know on else that we want it to be our collapsed picker view, and that our tap gesture is going to apply to the entire VStack, right? So let's just kind of modify it to look like this. And let's do the same thing here. So let's just copy and paste this and grab this guy and put it here. Right. So, all right, guys, this is looking, let's see. Did I forget a bracket? I think so. All right, so this is looking pretty good so far. So next up, what we need to do is add what these guys look like, right? So we're not going to do that just yet. We're just going to say like text show expanded view. And do that here as well. So you notice if we click that, it just says show expanded view. And let's make this guests right here. So looking not great, but better. So we just need to modify our logic here a little bit. So guys, what I want us to do is actually remove these modifiers here. So let's just comment them out. And let's go ahead and take these and put them on each one of our VStacks. right? So that looks good. So we don't necessarily need the modifiers here. We can delete that. And now you guys will notice that when I click on another view, right, this guy is where I want it to be now. So we basically just removed all those modifiers from our collapsed picker view and applied them to each one of our VStacks. So now we just need to adjust the frame and stuff of it when that VStack is in that expanded view. So that's pretty simple, guys. We can just go underneath the padding and say .frame height, and we can say selected option equals, and in this case it's going to be location, yes 120, no 64, right? So now if I select that, it's a height of 64. And if it's reselected, it changes its height to 120. So we use this ternary statement here to say, hey, if it's selected, this is what we want the height to be. If not, this is what we want the height to be. So let's go ahead and add that to these other guys as well. Right? And we'll say selected option equals dates, selected option equals guests. Perfect. So this is really starting to come together. So now if I click on this, it's not the width I want it to be, but we'll take care of that in a second. And let's see, if I click on this, why is that not working? If selected option equals guests, show expanded view, else who add guests. Yeah, that's weird. Okay. Okay, that's where it is. On tap gesture, we want selected option to equal guests, right? So now if I hit this, boom, looking better. So guys, what we're going to do is just go and make this, and we're going to wrap this up in an HStack. So I'm going to say HStack text show expanded view and add a spacer. And this is going to get us a lot closer to where we want to be. Here, paste that in there. So now this is looking pretty clean, right? And what we're going to do, guys, is extract this to a custom modifier, but we'll do that a little bit later on. This video is getting a little long. So what I want us to do to wrap this up before we add the rest of the components and functionality is add our animations here. So this is actually going to be pretty simple. SwiftUI makes this really easy on us. On each one of these tap gestures, guys, just go ahead and say, cut that and say with animation dot snappy, and you can just paste that in there. And I like this notation sometimes. We don't need to go on a new line because this is such a simple line of code. So we can make it look like this. Selected option equals dates. And go down here, selected option equals guests. And let's see how this looks. So you guys will notice that that gives us that really beautiful animation there, right? So we are pretty close to our goal here. I know that might have been like a lot to digest all at once, guys. So I'm just going to do a quick recap before we move on to the next video and add all of this awesome functionality that we see here with like our guests and our date pickers and stuff like that. So basically, we created this big VStack, and each one of these guys is like this expandable and collapsible component, right? So we said in the expanded state, right? Basically, if the selected option is equal to location in this instance, this is what we want it to look like in that expanded state. And if it's not, then we have our collapsed state, right? And we applied that to each one of our views. If the selected option is dates in this case, we are going to show our expanded view here. And in this case, same thing. If our selected option is guest, we are going to show this expanded view here. And if not, we show this particular collapsed picker view, right? And we have these modifiers on this guy. And this is now dependent, or the size of our view here is dependent on the selected option that we have. And we'll cover this selected option guide in just a second. But basically we're saying, hey, if this is the selected option, if it's guests, make this frame 120. And if it's not, make it 64. And then we added this really nice animation to get that sort of expansion and collapsible look, right? So when I click it, it says, hey, now the selected option is dates. So I'm going to change the frame of this guy. And the other ones automatically collapse because this was tied to that selected option as well. It says if the selected option is location, then you show this guy. But if it's not, then you collapse that view, right? So that comes back to this enum that we created with these three particular cases, location, dates, and guest. And we went over why this is a much better implementation than using Boolean variables. It's a lot more scalable and it's a lot easier to maintain. And our state management is also a lot better here, right, guys? Because we can just go and on a tap gesture of that particular view, we can update the selected option here. And then our view will accordingly reconfigure with that updated state and expand or collapse the relevant things. So let's just go back to our Explore view and see how this looks before we move on to finishing this up in the next video. So I can tap on that. And guys, this is looking absolutely incredible, right? And then I can X that out and it gives me that really smooth animation there. So guys, this animation stuff does make things a little bit more complex, but it's what it takes to get that really polished user experience, right? And that's what I'm trying to emphasize here. It's not something I've focused a lot on in my courses. So I'm trying to switch things up and show you guys a different side of development. And it's been a lot of fun so far. So I hope you guys are enjoying the course so far, man. In the next one, we're going to be finishing up this destination search view. And then we are going to move on to creating our tab bar and these other guys here. And then we're going to move on to our data modeling, which is going to really bring this together. So get excited for that, guys. We'll see you there. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Hope you are doing well. Last video got a little long and I know that it was a lot to take in. I hope you guys are feeling comfortable with that. In this one, we are going to be finishing up this destination search view and we are going to be starting with creating our date picker and then we are going to move on to creating our guests view. So for the who's coming guy, right, we're going to have this stepper that is going to allow us to increment or decrement the number of guests. And then we are going to have this date picker view that allows us to select when we want to travel, right? And then obviously our destination search view. So this is a super smooth component and we're just going to work on finishing that up and then cleaning it up a little bit. You guys notice that we still have some copy and pasted code here with all these modifiers. We're going to create a really clean and reusable custom modifier to help us manage all of this stuff and make our code a lot more clean and a lot more professional. But anyway, guys, let's go ahead and move on to our date picker view. So this is actually going to be a lot easier than it looks. We get this date picker functionality straight out of the box from SwiftUI. So let's just go into our dates view. Let's see right here, date selection view, and we are going to figure this out now. So let's just go ahead and delete this guy. That was really just for display purposes. We're going to go here and say, we want to have this text component that says, when's your trip? And it's going to be .font, .title2, .fontweight, .semibold. Let's go ahead and click on this guy and we can see when's your trip showing up there and it looks pretty good. That animation is still super smooth and we're going to continue on with our date pickers now. So we need this from and to date picker option. So guys, what we're going to do is we're going to create a VStack here and we're going to create a date picker and we're going to select this option here, title key selection and displayed components. So we're going to say title key is from selection. We need to create a date property that that's going to manage our date selection and our displayed components is going to be .date. So let's go ahead and go up to the top here and create our to and from dates. We're going to say state private var from date or start date equals date and at state private var end date equals another date object. So now we can go here and pass in our start date. And let me move that over just a tad. Cool. All right, guys. And then we are going to have a divider and then we are going to have another date picker and we can literally just copy this guy. And we're going to change this to and this is going to be $end date, and the components are going to be the same. So let's take a look at how awesome this is going to look now, right? Super, super good. And we just need to adjust maybe like the height of our view a little bit. You guys will notice that this one is a little bigger than the other two. So let's go ahead and see if we can do that and also move this over to the leading edge. So we're going to just make an alignment property or add an alignment input parameter on our VStack and say .leading. Go here and that solves that. So guys, we are actually going to make the height of this 180 when it's selected, right? So I go here, and now that looks absolutely stunning. And guys, check this out. We just get this beautiful date picker calendar sort of view straight out of the box from SwiftUI, right? So I can say October 27th to the 31st or something like that. And that sets up the dates for my guy right there. So looks absolutely incredible. I think that let's actually go ahead and modify this a little bit to get the desired look here. So guys, we are going to go on this VStack and say .foreground style is .gray, .font is .subheadline, .font weight is .semibold. And that should wrap it up for that, right? That's not too bad. And that looks really, really good. So next up, guys, let's go ahead and move on to our guest view. So we're going to add like a stepper here, and we're going to keep track of the number of guests that we have. So let's see. We are going to go here, and I am going to create a text component. And let's see what we want it to say. Who's coming? .font is .title2. .font weight is .semibold. And let's check that out. Boom. And let's make our VStack alignment .leading here as well. And then, guys, we are just going to create a stepper. So let's see. We are going to want this to be inside of an H stack, or actually I think we can just create the stepper. So there's an option that we're going to want to use. I think it's going to be not title key, stepper. Let's take a look at all of the different options that we have. We want the option with a label here. So we say label on increment and on decrement. Why did that not show up right? Label on increment on decrement. Okay, perfect. So the autocomplete is really not being nice to me. So we don't need this on editing changed. Yeah, so we're just going to do the stepper here, open up that guy, and I'm just going to manually type this out, guys, because this looks disgusting. I think they need to fix some issues with this. So we're going to say on increment, boom, and then we are just going to say on decrement, boom. Okay, so this is what we want the stepper label to look like. This is what we want to happen when the stepper increments its value and when the stepper decrements its value. So let's go here, and we're going to say text, and we can just say like 0 adults for now. And here we can just say print add 1, print subtract 1, right? So let's just see how this looks. Okay, so this is looking really good, right? So if we hit this, it's going to perform those actions that we need. So basically, we're going to add another state property, guys, to keep track of the number of guests that we have. We don't want this to just say 0, obviously, right? So we're going to go up and say at state private var num guests equals 0. And we're going to go and drop this in here, num guests. And then we are going to say num guests plus equals 1. And here we're going to say num guests minus equals 1. So let's go ahead and see if this works. Perfect, right? Guys, you'll notice that for some reason, and I'm not sure why, you can't just like do a quick click on that. You kind of have to like hold it down for a little in order to get that to change. I'm not sure if that's how it's supposed to work, or if there's something you need to do to modify that. Just do like sort of a long press there. And you guys will notice that if you hold it, it'll just continue to increment that. So guys, just want to add a little bit of logic to this. You guys will notice that we can get negative with our guests. We don't want that. So here we're just going to say guard num guests is greater than or equal to 0, else return. And you guys will notice that if I go to add guests now, oops, let's just do greater than 0, not greater than or equal to. And go back here, try to subtract 1. And no matter how long I hold it, it's going to not move. So I go here, and I can just continue to hold that. And it's going to hit this guard statement. So that means we will never allow the number of guests to go negative there. Just some nice logic and user experience there. to make sure that we don't confuse the shit out of our user and convince them somehow that they can have negative guests, right? So guys, this is now looking really friggin' good. So just another thing or two I want us to add to this before we wrap this view up. So if you guys remember, I said that we wanted to extract this modifier out, right? Because it's largely the same for each one of our views. The frame might be different, the selected option might be different, but we have a lot of copy and pasted code here, and we can definitely clean this up. So we're going to do that. And then we also need to add a clear button up at the top. So if I start typing in that text field, I want the option to clear that out. So let's start with that, and then we'll move on to our custom modifier, and then we will be done with this destination search view. This is by far the most complicated view of the app, guys. So this is the hard part of our UI. So if it's stressing you out, don't worry, it stressed me out too when I was building it. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop up to the top here, and let's wrap this button inside of an H stack. So we're going to say H stack, paste that, spacer, and then we are just going to create a button to clear our text, right? And then we need to add some presentation logic to it as well. So basically, I'm going to create a button that says clear, and the action is just going to be to clear out our text. We'll handle that in a second. Let's get the look. So we're going to say .foreground style is .black, .font is .subheadline, .font weight is .semi-bold. Okay, so that's showing up nicely. And then guys, we are just going to add some horizontal padding or some overall padding to these guys right here. Perfect. And let's imagine we wanted to move this all the way up to the top of the screen really quickly, guys. So let's go on this V stack and just add a spacer at the bottom, move all that stuff up, and now this is looking super, super clean. So now let's just go ahead and add our button functionality and button presentation logic, guys. So to clear this, what do we want to happen when we hit that clear button? Well, let's go to our completed app. I can type some stuff, I hit clear, and it just wipes that out. So that's pretty simple. We just need to say destination equals blank string, right? Let's test that out. Boom, 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 boom. Clear, works like a charm. Super simple. Now we just need to add some presentation logic, also super simple. We're just going to go here and say Command X to cut, and we're going to wrap this in an if statement. We're going to say if destination dot is empty, paste that in there, and we're going to negate that. So we're basically going to say we only want that clear button to show up if the destination has text. So I can say as soon as I start typing, it shows up. If my text field is empty, it goes away. So that's beautiful. Really, really nice functionality to have there. I believe that's exactly how it works on Airbnb, and it was really simple for us to accomplish. So this is looking super smooth, guys. Now let's go ahead and see if we can move on to extracting this out to a custom modifier. So what we are going to do, guys, is head to the bottom of the file here, and we're going to create this custom modifier. So we're going to say struct, and let's call it like collapsible destination view modifier, and it's going to be a view modifier. So we're going to create this func called body, and this is the body or the content that we're going to be applying the modifier to. So you guys will see how this all works in just a little bit. The main purpose I'm showing you guys this is how to create a custom modifier. It's very useful in SwiftUI when you have custom views like this. So guys, we're just going to take the content, and we're going to take this modifier code that we have and copy it and paste it on this content. So basically, we're applying some modifications to a particular piece of content, and that's what this guy is right here. So the only thing we're not going to include is our frame option. So we're going to leave this up to the implementation component. So here's what I mean by that. Just go ahead and highlight that line and cut it out. And we're going to take all this stuff, and we're going to say dot modifier collapsible destination view modifier. And then we're going to take that code we just wrote, paste it in there. And now you guys will notice everything is working as expected, right? So I can do that with each one of my options now. So I can just cut that option or cut the frame modifier, say dot modifier collapsible picker view modifier or destination view modifier, sorry, and do that right there. Perfect. And boom, that's working as expected. And let's do this guy as well. So just do that, and then take the frame and make that guy just paste it in there and delete the rest of it. And you guys will notice that everything is still working as expected, right? So that's not super necessary, guys. I really just did that we deleted the tap gesture recognizer from that. So we want to just delete all that stuff. Right, so let's see, boom, 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 yeah. So like I said, guys, that wasn't absolutely necessary. The main reason I wanted to show you guys that was how to create a custom modifier. So it just helps minimize the amount of copy and pasted code that you have in your application. And this could really come in handy, and it's come in handy for me quite a bit with app development with SwiftUI, knowing how to create custom modifiers. You guys can imagine if you had like 10 of these components for whatever form your user is filling out, you're going to want to extract that out to this sort of custom modifier, because that could get really bad in terms of the amount of copy and pasted code you have and the amount of lines of code that your app in general has. So you want to always try to minimize that as much as possible. So that is going to wrap it up for this big fancy view, guys. I want us to just go ahead and check and make sure everything is working as expected from here before we move on to the next phase of this application. So that presentation is beautiful. We can search for a destination like Miami, and you guys will notice that we can clear that out whenever we want. We can search for dates or select dates, and then we can also add guests to our trip here. So guys, this is looking absolutely incredible. The animations are super sleek and super clean. I know that view was a little complicated, but that's what it takes to build out, stuff that's got all these nice, fancy, tricky animations. That really does add to the user experience of the app, guys. There's a reason that apps like Airbnb spend all that time and money developing these sort of like custom animation experiences. Because it really adds to the experience of the app, and it keeps your users engaged, and it makes them want to use your app more. And that is going to wrap it up for this module, guys. In the next one, we are going to be moving on to the rest of our view components with our profile and wish list tabs and all of that good stuff. So get excited for that, guys. We will see you there. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. In this module, we are going to be creating this profile view that you see here. So it's going to have this sort of view if the user is unauthenticated. So it's going to prompt them to log in. If you tap that login button, it's going to launch the authentication flow, at which point the user would be able to log in. And then it would reconfigure the UI with the updated authentication state and show the currently logged in user. So if you're watching the free version of this course on YouTube, it is not going to include that authentication functionality. We're just going to sort of have this profile view. If you are watching the pro version of this course, we are going to introduce the authentication functionality later on. If you guys want access to the pro version of the course, you can head over to the website at stephencodes.com and just go to the courses section, and you'll see the SwiftUI Airbnb Pro guy in there somewhere. Right now, it's in that second slot. And if you guys want unlimited access to all of these pro courses, make sure you just go ahead and become a member here. And for just less than a coffee a day, you guys can get access to all of the content on the site. That includes all of the pro courses, as well as all of these awesome app templates that we see here. And the source code for this is going to be available here in the app template section, guys. So let's go ahead and get started with this profile view. So in our profile folder, we are going to go ahead and make a new file. It's going to be a SwiftUI view. We're going to call this profile view. And we're just going to jump right into it. This is going to be a VStack, guys. And we're going to start by building out this sort of login prompt view. So really quickly, we're just going to create a text guy that says profile. It's going to be a font of large title and a font weight of semi-bold. And then we're going to say text log in to start planning your next trip. And we are going to make this VStack have an alignment of leading and a spacing of 8. So that looks pretty good. And then below that, guys, we're going to add our login button. So we're going to create a button, and it's going to have an action and a label, which you can just type out like that. We can just go ahead here and say print login. And our label is just going to be a text component that says login. Foreground color is foreground style, sorry, is white. Font is .subheadline. Font weight is .semi-bold. We're going to give it a frame of a width of 360 pixels and a height of 48. Background is going to be .pink. And the clip shape is going to be a rounded rectangle with a corner radius of 8. Looks pretty good. Okay, so next up, guys, we want different spacing between these components. So we can see here that the profile text and the login text have 8 pixels of spacing, but then that has a different set of spacing between the login buttons. So what we're going to do is wrap these two components in its own VStack. So you can right click on that and say embed in VStack after you highlight them. Oop, and we just need to drop this guy back in there. And we're going to copy and paste these two guys, or the alignment and the spacing. And then here, what we're going to do is change that spacing in the overall VStack to 32 pixels of spacing. So that just gives you an idea of how to customize spacing between stacks. So next up, guys, we're going to create this don't have an account sign up thing. So let's see, if we go underneath that in the overall VStack, we can create an H stack. Text don't have an account. Text sign up. Font weight, semi-bold, and then we're going to underline it as well. And we're going to give the H stack a font of caption. So that looks pretty good. Sweet. So that's this view right here. Next up, guys, we are going to create this like settings, accessibility, and visit the help center view. So let's see. Underneath all of that, we're going to actually wrap this VStack inside of another VStack. And we're going to fold this guy up here. So you can just right click on that bracket, hit fold, and we can add a comment here as like, call this profile login view. And then we can go underneath there and we can create another VStack, and the spacing here is going to be 24. And then we're going to create a separate view component for this sort of profile option row view, guys. It's the same between each thing. It's just a different image, a different text component. So we're going to want to create like a reusable view for that. So let's go ahead and make another guy in our profile view. We're going to call this profile option row view. And it's going to have some pretty simple input parameters. We're going to give it an image name and a title. And let's go here and adjust our preview. Image name and title. We could do gear and title as settings. And this is going to be pretty simple to create. It's just a VStack. Nested inside of that is an H stack. We're going to say image system name of image name. And we're going to say text is title. Font is subheadline. Spacer, image, system name, chevron.right. And then we are going to add a divider there as well. Sweet, looks pretty good. And now, guys, we can just go back to our profile view and create 3 of these things for our options. You guys could build out a data model for this, but this is pretty simple as it is. So I'm not going to build out a data model for that, but ideally you would have some sort of data model for different option sets there. So we could say profile option row view, and image name here is going to be gear, title is going to be settings, and copy and paste that 2 more times. The next one is going to be accessibility. I think I spelled that right. Yeah, accessibility, cool. And then this one is going to be visit the help center. And the image is going to be question mark dot circle. Cool. And then guys, we are just going to give this some padding on the vertical edges, sorry. And that's on this, let's call this like profile options or something. And then the overall VStack will have a padding modifier. And that's going to bring everything in nicely there. So that's going to wrap it up for the profile view, guys. Next up, we can just go ahead and create this wish list view as well. And then we can finish up this video by building out our tab view and just really bringing the user interface together before we move on to all of our data modeling. So let's go ahead and get started with the wish list view. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it, guys. Let's create a new SwiftUI view for our wish list view. And this is going to be a VStack alignment is .leading, spacing is 32, and this is going to be pretty similar to the profile view we just created. So let's see. I think we're going to go ahead and give this we're going to wrap this up in a navigation stack as well and just give it that title there. That's a navigation title. You guys can see the scrolling effect makes it go up into the navigation bar. And the reason for that is, guys, once you actually create like a wish list view here, you will have actual wish list items that you can navigate over to. So let's go ahead and say navigation stack, our VStack right there. And then we're going to create another VStack. We're going to say text log in to view your wish lists. Font is headline. Oops. Text, you can create, view, or edit wish lists once you've logged in. So the whole reason behind this sort of setup, guys, is we're not forcing the user to log in to use the app. Like, the user can browse through the application here without being authenticated, which is how Airbnb works. And this is a really nice like tool to have to build an app that doesn't require user authentication from the get-go. So for example, like Instagram and TikTok, they require you to have an account before you can even start looking at the feed. Airbnb does not. So some apps are going to work that way, some are not. So this gives you guys an idea of how to build an app that doesn't require user authentication from the beginning. So that's pretty cool. And then, like I said, guys, in the pro version, we go over how to actually authenticate the user and update the state of the application once the user has been authenticated. So let's just keep going. We're going to create the font here as footnote. And this VStack is going to have alignment of .leading, spacing of 4. And then, guys, we are just going to grab the same login button from our profile view. So let's expand that really quickly. And as a homework assignment, you guys could try to extract this login button to its own component or make like a view modifier to make this easier to recreate, so you're not just copy and pasting this everywhere you go. But for, like I said, I'm going to leave that to you guys as a little challenge. But that's it right there. And then we're going to go here and just give ourselves a navigation title of wish lists. And let's see, we need to add a spacer in here somewhere, right? To shove that all up to the top. And then we're just going to give this overall VStack here some padding. And let's see, yep, that looks pretty good to me, guys. So that's going to wrap the wish list component up. So we have our wish list, our profile. To finish this video up, guys, let's just go ahead and create our tab bar. This is not going to take us too long. And that way we'll have our full user interface ready to go with our tab bar, which is going to have our listing view or our explore view, our wish list, and our profile as well. So inside of this tab bar folder, let's go ahead and make a new file. We're going to call this main tab view. And guys, this is going to be super easy to create. We are just going to make a tab view right here. We're going to say explore view, wish list view, profile view. And you guys will notice there's no images down here, but if I click between the things, or if you just click in like sort of random places, those are showing up. So let's just go ahead and add our tab items in there. So we're going to say .tab item, label, explore, system image, magnifying glass. Awesome. We can copy and paste this and just change the titles. Wish lists, heart, profile, and we can make this person. So that looks great, guys. It's that simple to put a tab view together. And let's just go ahead and see if we can run our application and see how this looks live on the simulator. So in our app file, let's see, right now we're going to the content view. Inside of the content view, guys, let's just go ahead and replace that with main tab view. And let's go ahead and run this bad boy and see how our app is looking. So that's looking really, really good. We got a bunch of our listings showing up there. We can click on a listing and it goes to our listing detail page. Ooh, this is a bug we're gonna have to fix here, guys. That doesn't look great, but we'll take care of that in a second. So let's see how that works in the completed app. Yeah, you guys can see here that the tab bar isn't there. When we go to a listing detail page, we'll cover that in just a second here. So let's go back to our app just to see how it looks. And this is looking really good. We can swipe through these guys. We can activate our search view, and that's looking gorgeous. We can X out of that. We got our wish list and our profile. So that's looking really good, guys. Let's just solve that issue of our tab bar showing up here in the listing detail view. SwiftUI came out with an update to make this super, super simple. So in our listings guy and listing detail view, we can actually delete these images. We don't need those anymore. Or do we? Yeah, I don't think we do. All right, so all the way down at the bottom, guys, let's see. Where is on the scroll view, right? Go ahead in here and just say toolbar and say visibility is hidden for tab bar. Run this again. And you guys are going to notice that now if I click on a listing image view, the tab bar isn't there. It's just like my floating reservation view, which is absolutely awesome. And this looks a lot better now, right? So let's see. Yep, and it comes back when we go back to that view there. So this is looking super smooth, guys. Our UI is pretty much all built out. Next up, we are going to get into how we can start creating data models for our application, so we're not just using a bunch of mock or test data here. So we'll see you there. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Hope you are doing well. In our last video, we got most of our UI wrapped up. In this video, we are going to be getting started with creating data models for our application here. So we're going to start this off by creating a data model for our listing. So what that's going to look like, guys, is we want to create some sort of data model or object that's going to represent what a listing is going to look like in the app. So that's going to have, a number of pictures, reviews, who owns the listing, some of the listing features, the bedrooms, the listing amenities, the location of the listing, and all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started with that now. So let's go to this listings folder, guys, and we're going to create a new folder. We're actually going to create two. And this guy is going to be our folder for the models, and this guy is going to be our folder for the view. So let's take these two view files, put them in the view folder, and now we are going to make a new file for our model. And it's going to be a Swift file, and we're just going to call this listing. So let's just go through what a listing is going to look like, guys. So we're going to create this listing struct. And right off the bat, we are going to conform to the identifiable and codable protocols. So we want to display a list or a list of listings. It's kind of funny to say that. So we're going to want each one to conform to the identifiable protocol. I'm sure you guys understand how that works in SwiftUI. We need each item to have its own unique identifier so SwiftUI can distinguish between each individual item. So let's go ahead and just make an ID, which is going to be a string. Okay, next up, guys, let's think about what we're going to need for like the owner of the listing. So we're going to need the user ID for the owner, which is a string. We're also going to need the name of the owner. We're going to need the owner's image URL. And that's about it for the owner. Next up, let's just keep moving down the list. We're going to do like maybe number of bedrooms and bathrooms. Okay, so for all this stuff that we see here. So let's do let number of bedrooms be an integer. Let number of bathrooms be an integer. Let number of guests be an integer. And that looks good, right? So we have the number of guests it can hold, the number of bedrooms. Ooh, let's go number of beds as well. So we could say let number of beds. So that's important in a listing, guys, because you could have one bedroom and it could have two, possibly even three beds. So you want number of bedrooms and number of beds. So next up, we can start to talk about like some more listing information, like what's the price per night, right? So let's actually make this a variable because that can obviously change. Price per night is an integer. Okay, next up, let's think of location. So each listing is going to have some like coordinate data. So we can say like let latitude, which is a double, and let longitude, which is also a double. Okay, and on that note, let's go ahead and add some more information about the actual address of the listing, guys. So, like what city it's in, maybe the street address and stuff like that. So we can say like let address be a string, let city be a string, let state be a string. Perfect. Okay. Next up, what else do we need? Let's think. We're going to have a title as well. So that's what this guy is right here. And then we can also have a rating. And that's going to be a double. And that's going to be a variable because that will change over time based on what people rate it as. And that looks pretty good, guys. The other things are going to be custom, which we're going to start adding now. So we are going to want like, listing features and listing amenities here as well. So we're actually going to create separate structures for those. Like those are separate things. And we're going to create enumerations for those guys. So let's go ahead and create an enum for like listing features. It's going to be an integer enum. Let me check it out. And it's going to be codable, identifiable, and hashable. I know that's a lot. And we're just going to have two. We're going to say self check-in and superhost. And next up, we are going to have our listing amenities, guys. So this is going to be a much more extensive list. We can see here that we have all of these potential things like Wi-Fi, alarm, balcony, laundry, TV. So I'm actually going to just copy and paste this in here, and you guys can go ahead and type that out. So those are the list of amenities that we want. You guys can add and remove things as you see fit. Let's see, it needs to conform to identifiable. So let's go ahead and fix that. We can just go ahead here and say var id int return self.raw value. And we can copy and paste that right down there as well. So guys, we are going to be using this in sort of like a list format like we see here. So we want to conform to the identifiable protocol here. And when we say self.raw value, we're just giving each thing an ID that corresponds to its raw integer value. So for example, pool would be 0, this would be 1. We don't have to explicitly type that out because Swift handles that for us. If you guys want more info on how enums work, I'm going to be making a video and posting that on the channel. It's also going to be available on the intermediate and advanced Swift fundamentals course that's coming soon as well. So we'll give much more extensive breakdowns on data modeling, but this is what the listing amenities guy is going to look like for now. And these are both going to have some associated properties, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and add those in as well. Each one of these is going to have a title. And this is just the title that corresponds to each option. And each one of those things is also going to have an image name. So guys, you could pause the video, go ahead and type all that out, or once again, you could go ahead and get access to the source code by becoming a member on my site. I'm not going to show you guys the website again. I'm sure I've done that enough in this course already, so I won't bother you with that stuff anymore. But yeah, this is the image name associated with each option, guys, and that's sort of how we get this set up here, right? Each option has an image associated with it and a title. So we can use an enum to get all of the data that we need for that, which is pretty cool. Okay, so we need to do the same thing for the listing features. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste the associated info for listing features in here as well. And you guys can just pause the video and type this stuff out. So going back up to this guide, these are what the listing features are going to look like. So it's going to have an image name, a title, and then a subtitle. So that's what all of the associated data is going to look like for our listing features. So now that we've done that, guys, let's go back up to our listing struct and add those things in. So if we go listing struct, we are going to say var features is an array of listing features. Var amenities is an array of listing amenities. Okay. So last thing we need is one more enum, and that is going to be for our listing type. So guys, we can have like a villa, we can have an apartment, a townhouse, a home. So that's the last thing we are going to have for our data model here. So let me just go ahead and paste this in. Listing type. So as we can see here, we have apartment, house, townhouse, villa, and this returns the description about that listing type. So let's go ahead back up here, and we are going to say let type be of listing type. And that's going to wrap it up for the data model, guys. Next up, what we're going to want to do is start creating some mock data so that we can actually start populating our app and our user interface with this data model. So let's go ahead and hop down to the extensions folder, guys, and I'm going to make a new file, and it's going to be called developer preview. And I'm just going to make a class called developer preview. And this is just where we're going to put all of our mock data. I like to have it all in one place so I can just call, this developer preview and then get the mock data associated with it. So what we're going to do, guys, is I'm just going to paste in a bunch of these listing objects that I created. You guys can pause the video and go ahead and type this stuff out. I know I've been saying that a lot, but it just saves us a whole bunch of time in the instruction without me having to type all this stuff out, guys. So basically, this is just an array of the listings that we just created, right? And we just initialize it here like this, and we have this really nice indentation style so that it makes this object really readable and easy to modify, right? So this is just all the stuff we just did. ID, owner UID, number of bedrooms, location, city, rating, all that stuff, right? And I just created a couple of these listings here. And this is like exactly what I have in the completed application here, guys. So just go ahead and pause the video and type some stuff out, guys. You could do exactly as I have here, or you could, make your own data. It doesn't really matter. This is just mock data. The next step is going to be actually injecting this data into our UI. I did notice there is something that we forgot. However, we don't have the image URLs property. So basically each listing needs a set of images associated with it, right, guys? So that we can go sort of swipe through all those images. So let's go back to the listing, and we can just go right under like the longitude property and say var image URLs. And that is just going to be an array of strings. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Okay. So now, guys, in our developer preview, it's going to start throwing some errors because we need to provide each object with those image URLs, and I'm going to do that now. So we're just going to go here and add that guy in. So this is coming from my assets folder, guys. If you remember, I have a bunch of listing images here, and I'm just giving each listing like a random set of them. If you're actually pulling this information in from like a database or an API, this image URLs guy would just be populated with like actual image URLs for each one of the listing images. So let's go ahead here and just do the same thing. I just like have a random order for each one of them. And once we get this finished up, we can start populating our UI with data. So let's see, do that guy right there, and last one doesn't matter. All right, maybe like change the first image or something. Cool. All right, guys, so that is actually gonna wrap it up for this video. In the next one, we are gonna move on to populating our UI with all of this data that we just created. And that's gonna be super fun. It's really gonna bring the app to life. And then you guys should be able to go on from there and get an idea of what it would be like to actually like fetch this information from an API and build out these listings and, you know, and just do the same thing, inject that information into your app. So that's the beauty of using mock data, right? It's really easy to sort of swap out with an actual service, and we're going to go over how to do that. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Hope you are doing well. In this module, we're going to be going over how to inject all of this data into our app's user interface. And we're going to do so through the means of a service and a view model, which we'll go over in a second. So right now, the current state of our application is that it's just displaying a bunch of mock or static data. We want to take all of this stuff that we just created, our data models, and inject it into the UI. So let's go ahead, and in this Explore folder, guys, we're going to create 3 subfolders. Clean our architecture up a little bit over our file structure. We're going to take these 3 guys, or sorry, let's name them first. We're going to have a service class, a view class or folder, sorry, and a view model folder. And we're going to take these 3 files and put them up in the view folder, just like that. And then we're going to create a view model and a service class. So let's go ahead and create this view model really quickly. It's going to be a Swift file, and it's going to be called Explore View Model. And we're going to make a class, call it Explore View Model. It's going to conform to the observable object protocol. And we are going to have a published variable for our listings. We are going to initialize this guy, and we're going to have a function to fetch our listings. Okay. And this is going to be an asynchronous function, guys. So we're going to leave this here for now. And then we're going to go create a service class. So let's make another Swift file, and we're going to call this Explore Service. And what we're going to do, guys, is make a class called Explore Service. And we are going to write a function here to fetch our listings, async throws, and it's going to return us an array of listings. And here, this is going to be treated as like a mock service, guys, but we are going to implement the sort of correct architecture for what it would be like to actually fetch these listings from an API. So in this function, we can just say return developer preview dot, let's say dot listings. So guys, you'll notice that we had to initialize this developer preview. That's fine. But if we want to get around that, we could just go ahead and make a shared instance of this. We could say static let shared equal developer preview, and then we could just route all of that stuff through the shared instance and not have to initialize it. So we can say .shared .listings. So that's a pretty simple service class. We're just going to inject our view model with this service. So we're going to say, hey, we want this thing to be initialized with the service. That is our Explore service. We are going to create a class level property for that service. So we're going to say private let service be of type Explore service, and then we're going to say self.service equals service. Pretty straightforward stuff here. And then we are just going to say do catch self dot listings equals service dot fetch listings. And we have to actually say try await. And if something goes wrong, guys, we're just going to say print debug failed to fetch listings with error. And we'll pass in our error.localized description. So this is pretty standard dependency injection architecture, guys. And we are going to improve this just a little bit more in later on in this video. I want us to go over how we can actually start populating our UI with real data. So if this stuff is confusing to you guys, I highly recommend checking out the Swift Networking Masterclass. So it goes over all of this stuff in detail. Service architecture, dependency injections, and all of this async throws and async await stuff. So highly recommend checking that out. Even if you guys are familiar with this stuff, I still highly recommend checking out that course because it has really professional level architecture and code in it with how to introduce like a networking layer properly in a SwiftUI app or in an app in general. So guys, let's now go into our Explore view, and we're going to create an instance of our view model, which is our Explore view model here. And we need to initialize it with a service, which we can just do here. We can create our Explore service right there. And now, guys, what we need to do is populate our for each loop with all of the listings that are coming back from our view model, and then inject each listing into our listing item view. So here we're going to take out what's in these parentheses and say view model.listings. We already have the correct term in there. And then we just need to go ahead and inject this into our listing item view. Ooh, listing needs to conform to the hashable protocol. So let's actually go do that now. Listings, model, listing. And you guys can just go ahead here and say hashable. And let's go ahead and try to build this. I think it should, yep. So because we are already conforming to the identifiable protocol, I think we're good to go with hashable. And in order to make things navigation linked, guys, you have to conform to this hashable protocol. So back inside of our Explore view, next up, we just need to go to our listing item view and inject it with a listing so that we can display the correct listing data. Or that's actually our listing detail view, but that will come later. Okay, so let's see, listing item view. We shouldn't need these anymore. Let's go ahead and say let listing be a listing. And now we're going to replace all of this hard-coded data, guys, or most of it, with our listing data. So let's go ahead and inject our preview with a listing. So here we can just say developer preview.shared.listings and just pass in like the first one or something. Okay, so here, let's see how we want to do this. We need to say this needs to be our listing.city, and this needs to be our listing.state. And let's go ahead and resume our preview. Oh, we got an error. Let's see what that is. Oh, we need to go back to the Explore view and inject this guy with a listing now. So this is super clean, super nice architecture here, guys. It's really simple and straightforward. So let's go ahead and just continue on with what we got. Oh, back in our view model, let's go ahead and also say task await fetch listings. So now this is going to trigger this function call. It's going to populate this guy, and our Explore view should look pretty similar, right? So Miami, Florida, Miami, Florida, Miami, Florida. But you guys see now our data is looking a little bit more dynamic, right? These last two listings are in Los Angeles. So it's already starting to come together. And that's the only thing we've changed so far. So let's go back to our listing item view. And we are not going to have this distance calculation or these dates, but we do have a listing price, I believe. So here we can say listing.price per night. Yep. And let's see. Then this is going to be string interpolation listing.rating. Ooh, so we're going to need to do some formatting there, guys, to make sure that that rating doesn't have all those extra nasty zeros. We can take care of that a little later. So let's actually just, let's leave it there so we remember to do it. Okay, so let's go back to our Explore view and see how this looks now. All right. Yep. 486, 486, 497, 486, Los Angeles, 763, 567, 567. All right. So our data is looking pretty good. We do, however, need to get these guys modified. So we have this listing image carousel view. So let's go into that. And we're just using these static images, guys. So here, what we want to do is maybe just say, let's populate this with a listing as well. And here we're going to say view model, or sorry, listing dot image URLs. And that should be good. And here we just need to pass in our listing guide, developer preview dot share dot listings. So we can really see how that comes in handy, right? To get like preview data looking good. Yep. All right. So let's go back to our Explorer view, and this should look pretty good now. Should have a bunch of different images showing up, a bunch of different data relative to each listing. Okay, let's see. We got some errors. Yeah, so we need to go here and say listing is the, okay. So we need to inject our listing detail view with the listing as well. So we can say let listing be a listing and pass that along. But this is going to cause an error in our preview down here. So we need to inject our listing here, dot share dot listings 0. Okay, and we should still have a couple more errors we have to resolve, guys. Okay, listing item view. Yep, so we have the listing injected here. Let's just go ahead and pass it along to our listing image carousel view. Perfect. And I believe we should just have one more error where we need to pass the listing to the listing detail view. Yep. Oh, and look at that. We already have this navigation destination set up, but now we are going to make it for a listing.self. We already have the name set up as a listing right there, so we can just go ahead and say listing and pass along that listing right there. So now, guys, if I hit Command B to try to build succeeds, looks great. Let's go ahead and resume our preview on our Explorer view and check that out. That is looking absolutely amazing. We get all those different images for each one of the listings and all of the different data and stuff like that. Next up, guys, we just need to populate this listing detail view with all the relative data and configure our map view as well. So let's go ahead and get started with that. So hopping into the listing detail view, we already have this listing injected in here. So now we just need to start replacing this hard-coded data with data that's coming from the listing model. So here, guys, we're just going to say listing.title. See what that says. Okay, still Miami Villa. And once again here, we replace this with our double rating. So it's going to be listing.rating. We don't have number of reviews. You guys could add that if you want. And then here, we're going to say listing.city and listing.state. So that should just say Miami, Florida. Perfect. Nice, nice, nice. And let's see. I think this is going to be like the listing description. Do we have that? No, we don't. Okay, so maybe we should add this. Yeah, we could figure out what we want to say there, guys. Yeah, actually, let's do this. So we have the listing type, right? So we're going to say entire listing.type.description hosted by, and then we can inject the listing dot owner name. So we should get entire villa hosted by John Smith. Cool. And guys, let's go ahead and change the preview item really quickly just to see if some dynamic data is showing up in there. So let's do like number 3. Hey, check that out. Beautiful Los Angeles home in Malibu, entire apartment hosted by Harry Styles, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't have to be necessarily accurate. We just want to see that, you know, data is showing up from the listing that we're injecting into this view. And let's just keep going. So let's see here. We are going to inject the listing dot number of guests and then listing dot number of best bedrooms, listing dot number of beds, and listing dot number of baths. So you guys, this is really, really easy. Let's see, number of bathrooms. Because of the way we had our code set up, and we set our data model up to give us exactly what we need. So this is a pretty smooth process right now. So now, guys, we are going to go here and replace this with listing.owner image URL. And this part gets a little bit more fun. So here we need to loop through the listing features, I think it is. Yeah, we said feature here, listing features. So let's say for each listing dot features, feature in, and here we're going to say feature, and guess what? We have the image name as part of that feature object. So we're going to say image name, bam. And then here we say feature dot, let's see, title, I believe, and this is going to be feature dot subtitle or feature dot description, one of the two. Subtitle, yeah, super, super easy, guys. So if we hop into this feature, it's this listing features object, and that's why we created these three like computed properties, right? So based on the property case that it's looking at, it's going to give us back this information. And we can see here how we get to use that in our data model. And it's so, so clean, right? We just loop through the available features that the listing has. We get access to each feature inside of our for loop, and then we just pass in all of that relative feature data. Super, super clean implementation there. And you guys can see that come to life right now. We have self-check-in and Superhost. Bam. All right, next up, where you'll sleep. So guys, we just need to do the number of bedrooms here. So we're going to say listing.number of bedrooms. And let's see. Int, okay. I guess we need to say 0 up to, but not including listing. Or, you know what? I think we say 1. Yeah, 1 up to, but not including listing dot number of bedrooms. Yep, and guess what? Then we get bedroom 1, 2. I think we might want to go all the way up to. So ... because I think this one has 4 bedrooms. And when we do that, we do need to say id /.self. And let's see if that gives us the 4th bedroom. Yep, beautiful. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right, and none of this stuff changes. If you guys wanted to add like pictures of bedrooms, you could, but I think this is pretty good. All right, so next up, we do the listing amenities, guys. So here we're going to want to say amenity in, and here we're going to say listing.amenities. And we have amenity.image name and amenity.title. So now if we scroll down, we can see all of the available amenities that that listing has. So that looks great. All right, next up, last but not least, okay, we'll come back to the map in a second. Here we could replace this with listing.price per night, $763 per night. And that looks good. Oh, that's supposed to be the total. You guys could do some math if you want. Like you could add maybe a computed property or a function on the listing object to get the total price based on the number of nights you're looking at. But that's up to you guys as homework. And let's see, how do we do the map now? So SwiftUI got some awesome map updates. So we are going to be going over how to do that in the next video, guys. So we're going to want to have this map zoom in on the coordinate region of where the user is going to be. So in this case, for this listing, it would be Los Angeles. We're going to get that coordinate data and go over how to do that. So let's see, in the completed application, or this is our app right now. Let's see. Yeah, this is the completed one. If you scroll down, you get to see the Los Angeles area. And if you guys were to go back to Miami, the map would be showing you the Miami area. So we're going to go over how to do that in the next one, guys, and really get like the finishing touches made to our app here. It's really come together nicely. And that's what we're going to be doing in the next video, this map stuff. So we'll see you there. Peace. What's going on, guys? Welcome back. In this video, we are going to be configuring this map view with the correct region that corresponds to the listing. So we are going to go into this listing detail view, And we're going to create a state property here. So we're going to say state private var, and it's going to be called camera position. And it's going to be a map camera position, just like that. And if you guys are unfamiliar with the new map kit updates in SwiftUI, just go ahead and check out the video on the channel I have for all of the new iOS 17 map kit updates. The link is in the description to this video. So really quickly, guys, we need to now make an initializer, and we need to give this camera position a value. So we're going to say init, and we have this listing and this camera position here. So we're going to say init listing, which is a listing, and we're actually going to initialize the camera position from information that comes from the listing. So here we can say self.listing equals listing, and we're going to say self.underscore camera position. Make sure you guys say underscore here. That's how you initialize a state property. We're going to say state, and you're going to say initial value is going to be .region, and then we need to supply a MK coordinate region. So let's go ahead and do that now. We're going to say let region equal MK coordinate region with a center and a span, guys. So this center, we need to make a CL location coordinate 2D, and that's going to require a latitude and a longitude, and then the span is going to be an MK coordinate span. So we're going to go here and say MK coordinate span, latitude delta, longitude delta. I know this is kind of messy right now. Let's go ahead and see if we can clean it up a little bit. We'll do the latitude and longitude in a second, guys. The span is just going to be 0.1 and 0.1. And let's go ahead and configure this lat long. So we can just hard code this to LA for now. Or we could do Miami. It's 25.7602. And the longitude is negative 80.1959. You guys can literally just Google the coordinates of Miami. Okay, and then we just pass that in here, guys. And now what we're going to do is pass this camera position in to our map view. So that's how the map camera knows what area on the map to look at. It's going to center on this region with this span and all of that good stuff. So just go all the way down to our map view. So much code. So let's see, where is our map? Where you'll be, map right here. Okay, so you guys will notice if we delete those parentheses and we look at this guy, it'll say camera position, or I think it's just position actually. Yep, and then we will pass in our camera position there. Perfect. So now, guys, we should be able to scroll down and you'll see that it's zoomed in on Miami. So the problem with that is that we have this hard-coded region here, guys. So how do we make this a little bit more dynamic? So what we're going to do is go and create an extension. And we are going to create a Swift file, and it's going to be called regions. And we're going to import core location. And I'm just going to go ahead and copy and paste this guy in here. So these are the coordinates for these relative cities. So these are the coordinates for Los Angeles. These are for Miami. Obviously, what you guys would want to do here is just like all the cities and places you have in your app, you could just add the coordinates for those cities, right? New York, whatever it is, any location you have, you could just add to this extension here. So next up, guys, let me show you how we're now going to get the correct region in our listing. So obviously right now we only have listings in 2 places, but this is set up so that you guys could scale this pretty easily. So here we're just going to say we need to adjust this center right here. So let's just go ahead and delete this. And we're going to say listing.city equals Los Angeles. And we're going to say yes. And we can, you guys notice we now get access to these regions that we just created with this dot notation, which is really cool, right? So if the listing city is equal to Los Angeles, we're going to go and look at the Los Angeles region. If it's not, we're going to look at the Miami region. And ideally what you guys would want to have is some sort of function that takes in like a city name and gives you back the city region for what you're looking at. So like imagine if you had like, you know, I don't know, 100 cities here, you would want some sort of data structure that would take a look at the city name, and it would look something like this. You would say like func region for city, and it would return like a CL location coordinate 2D, something like that. And you would just say, do like a switch on the name, and you would say case like Los Angeles, right? And blah, 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 blah. Case Los Angeles, Miami, blah, all the cities you have in your application, you could then get a region back for that particular city, just like that. So that just gives you guys an idea of how to scale this. And in the completed version of the course, guys, we'll have a cleaner implementation of this. But if we go back to the listing detail view, now we should be able to see that this is in Los Angeles. And if we go down, that's exactly where our region is, right? So let's go ahead and just check this out in our Explore view. Let's see if everything is showing up as expected. So if I click on a listing in Miami, I go down and it's zoomed in on Miami. That's perfect. And if I go down and click on a listing in LA, scroll down, it shows up as Los Angeles down there. So that's looking really, really good, guys. And that's going to wrap it up for our listing detail view. The next thing we're going to go over how to implement is search functionality. So I'm going to show you guys how to actually search for a destination. So for example, in the completed app here, guys, I could type in Los Angeles and hit enter. And it's only going to show me listings in that city. So we are going to have some level of search functionality here. We're going to go over how to do that next. So get excited for that, guys. We'll see you there. Peace. Welcome back. In this video, what I want us to accomplish is the ability to filter our listings by location. So you guys will see right now that I've searched for Los Angeles and only listings in Los Angeles are showing up. I could clear this out and go back, and you guys will notice that now I get all of my listings showing up. And then, you know, if I were to search for maybe Miami and just hit enter there, then only listings from Miami will show up. So this is a pretty important piece of functionality here. You definitely want users to be able to filter by destination. So let's go over how we can start doing that. So basically, guys, we need to go and be able to type something in to this search destinations like search bar here, and update our listings somehow, right? We need to filter them based on that search text. So in our Explore view model is where we have our listings. So we're going to want to be able to filter this listings array right here based on the search text that the user types in. So we can write a function to do that. So what we can do is say func update listings for location, and we could pass in a location, which is like a string here. And guys, what we're going to do is basically just filter these listings based on that location. So I'm going to say let filtered listings equal listings.filter. And you're going to open up two curly brackets and just go get on a new line of code. And you're going to say 0.city.lowercase equals search location, location dot lowercase, or 0.state.lowercase equals location dot lowercase. So basically, this allows the user to search for listings in any city or any state, right? So if they pass in Los Angeles, we'll give them back all of the cities that match Los Angeles, or they could pass in California, and we would also give them back, you know, all the listings where the state is equal to that location. And the reason we lowercase this, guys, is because, you know, we don't want a user to like type out like Miami accidentally in all caps, or, you know, accidentally capitalize something but not another thing, and then have that mess up our search. So we just want to floor everything to be lowercased. So let's see. Now we are going to say self.listings equals filtered listings dot is empty. Yes, listings, no filtered listings. So what's going on here? So guys, basically the user could search for a city that we don't have, right? So for example, like if I search for New York and hit enter, I believe the way Airbnb functions is that they will just sort of default it to a location, right? So we don't have any listings there. You could show some sort of empty view if you would like, but we just don't have any listings in New York. So the user can obviously type in a city that we don't have listings in just yet. It depends on how populated your backend is, right? So basically, if the filtered listings guy is empty, that means we didn't have any matches for that location. We just give back the original listings array. And if it's not empty, then we publish the filtered listings, okay? So yeah, that looks pretty good for now. So what I want us to do is figure out where we can implement this function now. So we're going to want to hop back over to our destination search view and figure out where we want to execute or call that function, right? So basically, guys, it's going to be here on this H stack where we have our search destinations text field. So we have this on submit modifier. So basically, whenever the user hits the submit button or you hit enter on your keyboard, what's in this block will fire off. So for example, here we could just say print update listings, right? And let's go ahead and run our code really quickly and see if we get back that print statement when we hit enter or the submit button on that text field. So I'm going to go here, and fire up the keyboard, and I'll just type some stuff out, bring the keyboard back up and hit return. And you guys will notice that I get that update listings print statement right there, right? So this is where I want to execute that function. So I actually need access to my view model if I'm going to call that function from the Explore view model, right? So basically, guys, we need to call this here. It's going to update this listings variable, and then in turn, that will publish that change over to our Explore view and update our listings right here, right? So we hit enter here, it calls that update listings function, and then it will dismiss that view, and then we will get our updated listings back in our home view. So that's the functionality we want here. So I just need to pass that view model along into my destination search view. So I have two options for doing that. I can pass it along as an input parameter or make it an environment object. It's entirely up to you guys which one you want to do. So basically, guys, what we can do is just say at observed object var view model is going to be our Explore view model. And we want to make sure we're not creating a new instance of that view model. We want to use the same instance that we are creating in our Explore view. So guys, this means that we're going to have to create an initializer. Actually, no, I don't think we do. It's just going to ask us to pass this along as an input param now. Let's actually go ahead and put it all the way up top. These are like the top two things are our input params. Everything else has a default value, right? So now we can go back to our Explore view and we can pass along our view model. And the other option, guys, would have been to make this an environment object like this. And you could have set that up as an environment object. I don't think it really matters in this case. So let's see, back in our destination search view, then we are going to go ahead and call that function, right? So we're going to say, let's see, where is that text field on submit right here? Let's delete this, and we're going to say view model dot update listings for location, and I believe we're just going to pass in that destination, right there, boom. And then we are going to say show dot toggle. So basically, guys, when we hit enter, we're gonna dismiss that view after we update the listings. Okay. So let's go ahead and see if this works, guys. Let's see. Let's run this again. Missing argument. So let's fix this error. Oh, we have this preview here. So let's just go ahead and say explore view model. We got to pass in the service too. That's annoying, but it is what it is. Not the worst thing in the world. So I guess if you had made it an environment object, you would have avoided having to do that in the preview, which might be a little nicer. Okay, let's go ahead and try it out. Let's see. I want to search for Los Angeles. And you guys will notice that if my keyboard's showing and I just hit the enter key, boom, it dismisses. And check that out, guys. It's only showing my listings in Los Angeles. So let's go back and maybe say Miami, enter. And okay, so we definitely have some debugging to do here, right? So you guys notice I searched for Miami and it's still only showing me listings in LA. So another thing is, guys, that if we have a destination search parameter already like active, we're going to want to pass that along to this view, right? And have it like sort of preload into that text field. So there is a little bit more functionality we need to add here and some debugging we have to do. So let's go ahead and dive right in. So what I want us to do, guys, is actually place this search text parameter on our view model. And the reason for that is because it's going to allow us to share that search text property across different views, right? And another piece of functionality we're going to want to implement before this video is over is having the search text show up in this search and filter bar here as well. So we need to share that location text or that destination text in a couple different places. And right now it only exists in our destination search view. So what we can do is add that to our view model. So I'm going to go here and say at published var, let's call it like search location. And we're going to use this property to share it between all of these views, right? Because the view model is the thing that all of these things have in common. So now we have this search location in the common component shared between all of these things. So we can share this parameter a lot easier. And guys, something that's going to allow us to do here is actually remove this as an input parameter from our update listings function, right? So because now we have access to the search location in the view model, we no longer need to pass it along as an input param, which is really nice. So let's just update this to say search location. Perfect. Okay. So there's going to be one more error that we have to fix. So we're just going to have to remove this from there. Right? So now it's just viewModel.update listings for location. And instead of having this destination property as a state property on the destination search view, we're just going to use the publish property on the view model that we just created. So we can delete this now. And I can go ahead and say, this is going to be $viewModel.searchLocation. Perfect. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what else we get here. Let's say viewModel.searchLocation equals blank when we hit the clear button. And let's also replace destination with viewModel.searchLocation there. Let's try to build our project and see if that works. Okay, build succeeded. So let's go ahead and run this again, guys, and just make sure all of our functionality is still working. And then we'll see how we can use that new architecture or implementation setup that we have to solve our problems and get the functionality we want. So I'm going to say Los Angeles here, hit enter. And okay, so that's working beautifully, right? And you guys will notice now that if I go back into the search destination view, Los Angeles is automatically populated there, right? So that's because now the view model contains that search location property and it's linked to that text field, right? So anytime I type stuff into that text field, it's updating this search location property to have that text. And then when we go to our destination search view, we're populating that text field with whatever that text is at that moment. So that's really cool, right? So now I would be able to hit clear, X out of that, and you guys will notice that it's still not giving us the functionality we want. Like we have to reset our listings, so to speak. So we're going to go over how to do that now. So guys, back in, and then last piece of the puzzle is going to be to update this text up here. So back in our Explore view model, here's the problem. So when we update our search, our listings up here, we are setting them to be like that set of filtered listings, right? So let's say I search for Los Angeles. Right now, that updates this listings property to only be the properties that exist in Los Angeles. So then when I clear them out, okay, now listings only has properties from Los Angeles and filtered listings is going to be empty. It's going to give me back the listings guy. But now that's going to be updated to only have Los Angeles listings in them or whatever the thing you searched for was. So it's basically overwriting the listings guy. And that's okay. But all we need to do is keep a copy of our listings somewhere, right? So whenever I fetch the listings, right? So let's see, when I fetch them, this is all the listings I have in my app that I'm displaying when the app launches, right? My Miami and my Los Angeles listings. So what I can do is say private var listings copy equals an array of listings. And then here, I'm just going to say self.listings copy equals my listings. So guys, I'm going to fetch that original set of listings, and it's going to have my Miami and my LA listings, right? But this is just a private var that I keep for like a copy of things. This is the var that I'm going to publish over to my my Explore view to ultimately display the listing set that I want, right? So whenever I clear my stuff out, I will have a reference to the original listings that I had in my that I had from this service call, right? So guys, what we're going to do here is say self.listings equals listings copy instead of listings, right? So this will just reset it back to that original set of listings. So let's go ahead and run this and see if that works. And maybe this will definitely make more sense once we see it working live. So right now, guys, I have 3 Miami and 2 Los Angeles, right? So right now, listings has 5. Listings copy has 5, right? So just keep track of these comments with me as we go. So then I'm going to search for Los Angeles and hit enter. So now you'll see that my listings guy has been updated to only have 2 listings, but I didn't modify this guy. It still has all original 5 listings. And the reason this gets updated is because we are setting it to be this filtered listings guy, right? So now listings only has the Los Angeles guys in them, but listings copy has the original set of all of them, which is 5. So now if I go and I clear this out and I hit X, guess what, guys? Oh man. Oh, we need to call update listings for location again, right? So whenever I clear or dismiss that guy, we need to say update listings for location as well. Okay, so that's the trick. So let's see. Let's go back to destination search view. So when we clear that out, we can say view model.update listings for location. Let's run this again. Let's search for Miami this time. Hit enter. Okay, boom. We got 3 listings in Miami, right? So if we go here, let's update this. Listings now has 3 listings in them, and that's what gets published. So that's why this list contains 3 listings. But my private listings copy has all 5. So now if I go back here and I hit that clear button, boom. When I hit that clear button, it called this function, guys. So when I go back, boom, it's got all of my listings in there. So that's dope. That's awesome. But I think what we're going to want to do, I think there's one more situation we have to handle. So this is really good debugging skills for you guys. This is like a deep dive into how functionality in an app can work and how many corner cases you have to handle, which is super important when you're developing a quality app, guys. So now what if I were to do this? What if I were to manually clear it out, right? And I don't hit enter. Let's see. Let me filter this by Miami, hit enter. Okay. Now I go here and I just manually clear it out and I hit X. It's still only all my Miami listings, right? So even though my search text has been cleared out, I need to make sure that every time I hit that X button as well, it updates my listings for that particular location. So even if the location is empty, right? So let's see, destination search view. Yep, this guy right here where I have my X button. Let's go ahead and say view model.update listings for location, right? So every time I hit that X button, yeah, I think that's how we want it to work. Let's see if that makes complete sense. So let's search for Miami, right? And then let's delete it and hit the X button. Yep. And yep. Okay, so that looks good. I think that functionality makes sense there, guys. So that's looking really good. The last piece of the puzzle here is getting that location text, if it exists, up into this search and filter bar. So let's hop into that search and filter bar. And what we're going to do, guys, is just add a binding property for our location here. So you guys could pass the view model along here as well, but we really only need the location property. So what we can do is just pass it along as a binding, and it's going to read that from the view model's published search location property. So if you try to build your code, you guys are going to notice that you get a error. Let's go ahead and fix these really quick before we implement this. We can just say like Los Angeles here and try to build again. And you guys are going to notice that, let's see. Okay, 1 second. We got to pass in location and then say that. Try to build one more time. And it's going to say, hey, you got to pass this along here. So we're going to say location, and we can just pass it along from the view model dot search location, right? So whatever the view model search location is at the time, it will update the search and filter bar with that location because it's passed as a binding. And we can persist our state with that binding property wrapper there. So guys, now for the implementation, this is actually going to be pretty simple. We notice that if it's blank, it says where to, right? But if I have a destination in there, and also pay attention to this, it's also going to say anywhere here, right? So if I have a location, it's going to remove that anywhere text from there. So if I say Los Angeles, hit enter. Oh wait, is this my, okay, this is not the completed app, that's why. So yeah, you guys notice here that it says New York and it removes anywhere there. So let's go ahead and figure out how we can do that. So where it says where to here, you guys are just going to say location dot is empty. Yes. Where to? No. We're going to pass in the location. And then here, remove anywhere and this dash. And we're going to say, do some string interpolation. Location dot is empty. Yes. Then we're going to say, hey, we want to show that anywhere in the dash guy. And if it's not empty, we just want it to be a blank string. And let's delete this space here and add a space there. Okay, so let's see if this works, guys. Let's run our version of the application. Go here. I'm going to search for Los Angeles. Hit enter, and boom, that's looking beautiful. And if I scroll down, I only see my Los Angeles listings, so that looks great. And if I go here and I hit clear and I X out of this, then the search and filter bar updates accordingly. I get all my listings back there. So that is looking really, really good, guys. I know there were a lot of corner cases we had to handle there, but that should beef up you guys' skills in terms of how to solve issues like that. And all of the logic we implemented was super cool. And I hope that makes sense. So that's actually going to wrap it up for this version of the course, guys. If you guys want the completed pro version that has a bunch of additional features, like we have this whole map feature, you can go to the map and click on listings from there, get this listing preview, and launch this this beautiful listing detail view from there as well. And then it's going to have like that authentication feature as well here, the wish list feature as well. You guys can go to my website at stephancodes.com. The link for that is in the description, and you can go and get the pro course in the courses section. It's right here, or you can just purchase the source code directly, which is right here in the app template section. And as I'm sure you guys know by now, if you become a member, you get access to all of that stuff with the membership for less than just a coffee a day, guys. So paying $40 a month, you get access to all of that stuff with your membership. You don't have to pay those fees, or you don't have to buy the source code or the course. You just pay $40 a month and you get unlimited access to everything on the site. The value behind that deal and that package is absolutely insane. The prices are going to be going up soon, so make sure you guys get in now to lock yourself in at that rate of just $40 a month. So thanks for watching this series, guys. We'll see you in the next one, where I'm going to be building out this awesome TikTok clone. So just to show you guys what that looks like, it's pretty incredible, man. Like, I'm so happy I figured out how to do this in SwiftUI. Like, we have this amazing video scrolling. It's just super, super dope. You got comments, you got likes, you got profiles, you got notifications. You can search, you can upload video. It's just incredible. And if you guys want access to that, the source code is available now. The YouTube version of the course is coming soon, and the pro version of the course is coming soon as well. So got a lot more planned on this channel, guys. Hope you guys are enjoying the content so far. Make sure you like and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this and help me grow the channel. So thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.